Chapter 1121 Prevail. Chapter 1121 Prevail _ In the center of the swamp, the chaotic energy was wreaking havoc. Different energy attacks impacted, killing and clearing the entire area. Members of the Ascot family gathered from different corners of the place as they got what's call through the soundstone. Their force became stronger. Since Phelps's realm wasn't so high, Fick had to worry that he would be undergoing hardships in the ancient continent. Thus, he had assigned almost all of the elite warriors at ethereal god realm of the family to this operation so they could protect him. No one wanted anything bad to happen to him. Thus, although Phelps's realm wasn't really profound, the general competence of the Ascot family's force in this swamp surpassed the Fernandez's. Seeing more warriors of the Ascot family arrive, Mia's team was pressured even harder. Many of the Ascot's warriors had aimed at Mia. They wanted to force her to give them the 7-colored demonic flower. However, Mia was the strongest warrior with many divine weapons. At the same time, her skills were all mastered. What and the other peak of ethereal god realm experts were surrounding Mia, but they couldn't force her. Mia just had to endure a little hardship. Mo Fo, Cecilia, and the others were onlookers. While watching, their faces were getting stern as they were frightened. They knew how strong Mia was. This woman of the Fernandez family was not only the smart and cunning mind, but she was also an outstanding individual. Her personal powers were really intimidating. It was no wonder that she was appointed to the mission to this ancient continent. Everybody started to calculate. They knew that they must be careful when facing Mia. Phelps sat neatly, his face cold and dark. His eyes were like icicles that pierced Mia. Sometimes he even cursed. While Shi Yen was holding Phelps, his face was calm and cold, as if he was just watching a play. He looked like he was waiting until one side was defeated or even killed to give his other request. However, Shi Yen discolored all of a sudden. The kosal behind his head reflected an extremely fierce energy fluctuation. Closing his eyes, Shi Yen focused on seeing. His soul consciousness extended, reaching the area outside the swamp. He could sense the flows of extraordinary energy. It seemed like many intimidating creatures had entered this swamp area. Moreover, they were dashing towards his area. After a while, he took a deep breath, his face so chilled. He could sense the aura and direction of Haig's team. He had almost confirmed that the coming warriors belonged to one force of the God clan, one of the 12 families. Just like Mia and Phelps, they came to this ancient continent to clear the prodigies of the big star areas. He didn't need to ask to know their purpose for coming to this area. Sure, Yen had planned to see how the situation develops. After sensing, he changed his visage and recalculated his plan. He muttered in Phelps' ear and said coldly, "It's just a waste of my time and your time if you guys fight like this. It's not easy to deal with Mia. I think you guys have aimed at the wrong target. Yeah, you should attack Yuman. If you can capture Yuman, I think Mia will hand us the 7-colored demonic flower." Phelps' eyes brightened. With a cold smile hanging on the corner of his mouth, Phelps threw Wood a glance and asked him to attack Yuman. Wood understood tacitly. He gave his young master a curt nod that was unrecognizable. He discreetly signaled the others. Some members of the Ascot family who were attacking Mia slowly changed targets. Although they were harsh when attacking Mia, they didn't dare to attack her with lethal strikes. Mia was the key member of the Fernandez family anyway. If they killed her, it would lead to a war between the two families. They couldn't bear this responsibility. Although Yuman was also a member of the Fernandez family, he wasn't really important. Even if he was killed, it wouldn't cause a big commotion. What's team secretly changed their target. Everything is going well. Wu Feng clapped his hands and excitedly calculated. After the two families fight each other and get damaged, perhaps we will have a chance to overturn this situation. The eyes of Mo Fo, Cecilia, and Sha Zhao became hot. Their lines of sight raked through Mia's and Phelps's rings as if they could see the rare and precious materials. They had to grasp for their breaths. Throughout the recent 5 years, Mia's and Phelps's teams had joined hands and operated around this swamp area. They had killed many warriors of the other star area and harvested the materials that the others had collected. The warriors of the God Clan had also collected a lot of crystals and herbal materials. They had almost cleaned up the heaven and earth products in this swamp area. They had been through many difficulties to get to this ancient continent for the precious natural products. They also knew what Mia and Phelps kept in their rings. They weren't ordinary items. That was why they had become so excited. As long as he agrees to help us, Mia and Phelps couldn't hide. Ha ha! I couldn't believe that we got such a marvelous encounter in this deadly situation. Seems like our time is coming. Mo also smiled. Rumble, rumble, rumble. What? And the other 3 experts of the Ascot family suddenly ditched Mia. Before Mia could react, they had captured Yuman. Beams of gold light as big as a thumb wound around Yuman's god body, like real chains. Those light beams slowly squeezed and sank into his flesh. If Yuman wiggled, he winced in pain. His face was twisted. We can have a quiet moment now. What grinned and looked at Mia coldly. He placed a shiny silver sword on Yuman's neck. That sharp blade radiated a cold and dark halo. It looked like it could cut off Yuman's head in a second. Mia's soft body shivered. Her charming face turned as pale as a paper sheet. She gritted her teeth, her venomous eyes gazing at what? You dared to attack my people. I'll remember this. I swear I won't let you go easily. Under her resentful eyes, what was chilled? He felt so uncomfortable. He glanced at Phelps and took a deep breath. You know what I want. Mia looked at Phelps. Phelps wore a dark face, and he laughed coldly. My good sister Mia, I just want to live. Please help me. Yeah, you know me, right? You know that to survive I can do anything. Such a coward who is afraid of death. Do you think you're worth receiving the position of the chief of Ascot family? I think your father is blind. Mia scolded angrily. Afterward, she stroked a ring on her left hand. A dark blue halo glowed. A yellow crystal emerged in front of her. The amber crystal captured a peculiar flower, which had a beautiful woman face. That flower seemed to be frozen, but the exquisite facial features of that little beauty were still clear. It looked like a glamour was just sleeping. That crystal was as big as a millstone. It hovered quietly in front of Mia. She pondered for a while and then pointed at the crystal. For you! The crystal spun and slowly flew towards Phelps. It halted above his head. A strange, fresh aroma emitted from the crystal, which was so pleasant to the soul. It was the 7-colored demonic flower. Shi Yen grinned, reaching his hand to grab it. The amber crystal turned into a yellow light beam that disappeared into his fantasy sky ring. It's real. Mo, Cecilia, and the onlookers sobered from their joy. They were bewildered, and it became awkward. This battle ends so quickly. The battle between the Ascot and the Fernandez families hadn't cost any lives. There were some minor wounds, which wasn't the result that Cecilia and Mo had expected. They looked regretful as the situation didn't turn out as they had hoped. Too quick. It shouldn't have happened this way. Mo frowned. He became tense. He hissed. Would that kid stop his deed when he got the item? No. Isn't his purpose to stir up the dispute between the Ascot and the Fernandez families? It's not that simple, right? Said Wu Feng. Prepare to retreat now. Shang Yingyu suddenly hissed. That bastard came here for the 7-colored demonic flower. He won't care about us. He won't cooperate with us, either. Hearing her, people changed their faces. The plan that filled their mind was now just a joke. Without Shi Yan's cooperation, their calculation was just a lie to themselves and to the others. They weren't equal opponents of the Ascot and the Fernandez families. If Shi Yan didn't help them, their situation couldn't change a bit. He wouldn't help us? At all. Cecilia bit her lower lip. Nope, Shang Yingyu said curtly. Get out of here. Get out of here immediately. We should leave now. Mo Fo, Wu Feng, and Sha Zhao discolored. They didn't dare to linger. As told by Shang Yingyu, they quickly dashed away. Mia and Phelps' soldiers didn't stop them. They were watching Shi Yan, Phelps, and Yuman. I'm a man of my words. Under the God Clan's warriors gazing, Shi Yan slowly drew the bone thorn in Phelps' chest and abdomen. He whispered to Phelps, with your powerful self-recover, it shouldn't be a problem to recover. I wish you and Mia could get along well later. Before he had finished his words, his figure became vague and slowly disappeared into nothingness. He vanished in people's sight. Phelps wiped the trickles of blood on the corners of his mouth. He waved at What, release him. What immediately untied Yuman together with the warriors of the Ascot family. They handed back Yuman, who stood behind Phelps. Phelps was looking at Mia with cold eyes. Mia and Phelps glared at each other for a few seconds. They didn't talk, and they turned around. They walked in different directions like they were strangers. The union of the two great families shattered from that point on. Chapter 11:22. The Servant Flower and the Master Flower. Chapter 11:22. The Servant Flower and the Master Flower. Shi Yan was sitting cross-legged on a brown stone by a crystal-clear lake. Swoosh! A light flashed, and the amber crystal emerged in front of him. Inside that amber crystal was a beautiful flower that had the face of a beautiful woman in her sleep. This flower was peculiar and yet marvelous. Shi Yan took out the book that Shangqin gave him. He read it for a while and compared the flower with the figure in the book. Compared to the drawings, there was no doubt that it was the seven-colored demonic flower. All the features of this flower, including the beautiful woman's face, the jade roots, and a few leaves, showed him that it was what he wanted. A flow of soul consciousness was sent to the seven-colored demonic flower. Shi Yan wanted to use the soul consciousness to check it deeper. The amber crystal was used to seal this seven-colored demonic flower, which would prevent the flower from shriveling. This crystal was made with some unique materials. It was filled with steam and energy fluctuation. It should be a magical, exquisite container. His soul consciousness moved around and seeped into the demonic flower to sense. Shortly after, Shi Yan frowned. His eyes sparkled with confusion. He pulled his mind and observed closely. It didn't feel right. His face changed silently. According to the description in Shang Chen's book, the seven-colored demonic flower had a demonic aura that gave people a feeling of seeing something evil and cold. It could hypnotize people. When using the soul consciousness to sense, the warrior would feel dizzy because of the invasion of the toxic air from the flower. But Shi Yan didn't feel like that. It was clean and clear. There were no pollutants. Its aura was fresh with a faint aroma that relaxed the soul. It was what he felt when he entered the flower. Totally different. His eyes darkened as the flame of anger ignited and burned his heart. The co-soul floating behind his head also moved fiercely. A refreshing and immaculate aura flew out of the amber crystal, storming into his co-soul when he didn't recognize it. His co-soul stopped flickering. The auras of the heaven flames became distinctive. Oh! Shi Yan was astounded. He was bewildered. He looked at the crystal he was holding, observing the fresh, blooming flower. His soul consciousness tried to sense further. The magical aura from the beautiful flower had entered his co-soul and made the auras of the heaven flames forming his co-soul more distinctive. It calmed down his bouncing co-soul and made the flows of auras cling onto each other. It didn't feel right. Shi Yan retrieved his soul consciousness and his finger touching the crystal. He darkened his face, watching the fresh flower and frowning. He knew something wasn't right. This flower wasn't similar to what he understood. Maybe Mia had made a counterfeit, and it could contain something dark and evil which aimed at him. The more he thought about it, the bigger the possibility became. Swoosh! 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 The sounds of wind tearing arose and approached his area. From the sounds, he knew that there wasn't only one warrior coming. The Kosol transmitted soul, fluctuations, and sensed. He knew who was coming, so he didn't hasten to leave or hide. Sure, Yen sat on the brown rock by the clear lake, waiting in silence. After 15 minutes, Mo Fo, Wu Feng, Wu Bai, Cecilia, Shang Yingyu, and Xia Zhao appeared. They watched here and there, and even their back, and then slowly came to him. Ah! Shang Yingyu couldn't help but scream. She looked at him in fright. A little joy flashed in her clear but cold eyes. Mo Fo, Cecilia, and the others were shaken. They didn't think much and gathered by Shi Yan instantly. Just like him, they stood or sat by the rock and looked at him curiously. Are they after you? Cecilia smiled sweetly and charmingly. Her beautiful body flashed and her curvy but was bouncing as she stopped by Shi Yan. A mesmerizingly sweet aroma came to Shi Yan's nostrils with the wind. Since everybody knew to whom she was talking to, they all looked at Shi Yan with hope. No. Shi Yan wore a faint face. He frowned and didn't retrieve the amber crystal floating in front of him. Hearing him, they exhaled in relief. No one doubted his words. Then they relaxed and stopped being anxious anymore. Some lay down or sat on the rocks by the lake, grasping for their breaths and using the divine crystals to refill energy. Since they were all future leaders of the big star areas, they had many experiences in fighting. They wouldn't waste any minute as they would use them to recover. It was better to recover their energy and body condition to the peak to deal with the battle that could possibly take place in the next moment. Actually, you could have used Phelps for a little more. If we made them fight to the death when one side got damaged, it would have been much easier for us. As Cecilia heard him, her seducing face was thrilled. She proactively approached him, her face bright. If one of them was done, we would have taken the upper hand here. If you helped us chase them, none of them would have escaped. Shang Yingyu nodded. She looked regretful too. Shi Yan glared at Cecilia and said coldly, well thought. Too bad it wasn't that simple. Why did you say that? Cecilia's smile paused, her face earnest. Did you find any new commotion? Mo Fo, Wu Feng, and Wu Bai were using divine crystals to recover their powers. She had caught their attention. Everybody was waiting for Shi Yan's answer. Unfortunately, Shi Yan pulled the corner of his lips and didn't answer her. Instead, he looked at Shang Yingyu. You come and check this. Is it the real 7-colored demonic flower? It had been 5 years, and it had worn out Shang Yingyu's resentment against Shi Yan. Moreover, as she knew that she had to count on Shi Yan a lot, she didn't pretend and just frankly walked to Shi Yan's stone. She extended one jade-like finger, touching the amber crystal and releasing a flow of soul consciousness to sense. She was Shang Chen's daughter. Of course, her knowledge of peculiar and marvelous materials should be profound enough. In other words, her attainment shouldn't be less than Shang Chen's. It was because Shang Chen's knowledge of medicinal medicines came from Enlia, Shang Yingyu's mother, who was a brilliant alchemist. Shang Yingyu's fingertip touched the crystal. Her long eyelashes batted. Gradually, she furrowed her bold brows as if she had found something wrong. Shi Yan's heart sank to the bottom. From her facial expression, he got the answer. He couldn't hide his anger. Shang Yingyu's furrowed brows twitched and then relaxed. She spoke as if she couldn't believe it. It's not the 7-colored demonic flower indeed. Shi Yan's straight back lowered. His face changed when he sighed begrudgingly. I thought so. According to your father's description in the book, the 7-colored demonic flower has a demon aura with a hypnotizing ability. Although that flower is gorgeous with a human face, Its aura's completely different. You don't need to feel down anyway. Shang Yingyu looked at him. Her eyes brightened. Although it's not the seven-colored demonic flower, it's much more precious than the seven-colored demonic flower. This is a seven-colored spirit flower. It's much more precious and rare than the seven-colored demonic flower. It's the rarest priceless item at the original incipient grade. Mo Fo and the others were still eavesdropping. Hearing her, they were all stirred up as they looked at her. Is it the true seven-colored spirit flower? Asked Wu Feng with a stern face. It can't be faked. Shang Yingyu nodded. Mia must have taken the seven-colored demonic flower together with the seven-colored spirit flower. She wanted to keep seven-colored demonic flower to save someone called Yuku. Even though she had to give the seven-colored spirit flower to you, I would think that she is angry now. Haha, if it's true, she has a big loss this time. Mo Fo laughed oddly. They knew about the seven-colored spirit flower. They started to discuss boisterously. Looking at the beautiful fresh flower, they were so curious. Quite the contrary, Shi Yan was confused. The seven-colored spirit flower and the seven-colored demonic flower grow together. They are the servant flower and the master flower. The seven-colored demonic flower is the servant flower. It will draw and transmit nutrients to the seven-colored spirit flower to prevent that flower from withering before it blooms. As the master, the seven-colored spirit flower can take the fluids and nutrients from the seven-colored demonic flower to nurture and grow. After that, it will take the main roles. Shang Ying, you could see him doubting. She explained earnestly, when they encounter danger, the seven-colored spirit flower will become invisible. It will make the seven-colored demonic flower bear all the dangers. It's strange, right? As Mia could take both of them. She surely prepared carefully before she came here. Tell me their functions directly, said Shi Yan with a frown. The seven-colored demonic flower has the nickname of the soul custodian. It can clear all the dirty things or pollutants in the soul altar. The seven-colored demonic flower can clean them all. Aside from that, the seven-colored demonic flower is the main material to refine many pellets that nurture the soul. It's really precious. It can even help the warriors who cultivate mind power Upanishad. Pausing for a while, Shang Yingyu continued. The seven-colored spirit flower has a magical function. It can combine the heaven flames with different natures. Also, it can fuse the powers Upanishads with similar characteristics. Her eyes brightened up. She looked at Shi Yan without blinking even once. I think it's really suitable for you. She knew that Shi Yan had heaven flames. Shi Yan became bewildered, his face strange. He just frowned and said nothing. It isn't really important, as it can clean your soul altar unless your soul altar is infected. In that case, the seven-colored demonic flower will be the precious treatment for the right disease. For example, that Yuku has the soul-rotting aphis in his soul altar. He needs the seven-colored demonic flower to eradicate them. Aside from such a situation, the seven-colored demonic flower can't perform its best. Compared to the seven-colored spirit flower, it's not worth using. Anyway, nothing can compete with the spirit flower when fusing heaven flames or powers Upanishads, added Shang Yingyu. Chapter 11:23, Getting Serious. Chapter 11:23, Getting Serious, _ Just like Shang Yingyu had assumed, Mia was indeed so angry that she wanted to vomit blood. After diverging from Phelps's team, she didn't hurry to kill Mo Fo's group, the fish that had escaped her net. She chose a place to rest and contemplated with a dark face. The group of the Fernandez family's warriors scattered around her, looking at her begrudgingly. Yu Man bowed to her, his complexion embarrassed. It's I who had messed up your business. No, it has nothing to do with you. Mia swung her hand, her face frosty. It's Phelps and that damn brat. I didn't expect that he would be alive after 5 years raiding this area. I hate him. He broke my good business. Miss, Why did you give him the seven-colored spirit flower? Compared to the seven-colored demonic flower, its value is priceless. Man lowered his head and sighed as he was touched. He, of course, understood why Mia did that. Besides vowing his life to repay Mia's deep favor, he didn't know what else to do. It's true that the seven-colored spirit flower is much more precious, but it can't save Uncle Yuko. Just let him take it. I will find another chance to take it back. Mia frowned, but it'll be troublesome to talk with Haig about this. He wanted that seven-colored spirit flower. He and I have dealt the price already. I didn't think we could encounter such things. Then what should we do? Man was frightened. It's not easy to deal with Haig, though. It's okay. Just tell him the truth. It seems like we have to depend on Haig's force. Otherwise, I'm afraid that we can't capture that brat, sighed Mia. Not long after their conversation, the sound stone in Mia's sleeve vibrated. Haig wanted to talk to her. While she was fighting Phelps, her sound stone transmitted many calls. They were all from Haig. It was obvious that Haig had found something. It was an urge to know Mia's and Phelps' situation. However, she didn't pick it up. And now, when the dispute with Phelps ceased temporarily, Mia could ease her mind to talk to Haig. Also, she needed his help to clear all the obstacles in the swamp. What the heck were you doing? Haig's snarl came from the soundstone. I've just talked to Phelps. He said that you wanted him to die. You didn't want to use the seven-colored demonic flower to exchange for his life. That's why you guys... Haig shouted right at the beginning and criticized Mia's inappropriate behaviors. His voice was harsh indeed. Mia wore a cold face. She didn't hasten to snap back. Waiting after Haig had finished, she replied indifferently, It's much worse than what you've thought. I didn't give them the seven-colored demonic flower. What I handed them was the seven-colored spirit flower. It was the seven-colored spirit flower you wanted. Do you feel angrier now? Haig quieted down his thundering. After a while he had recovered his placid mind. It's just a servant. Why do you have to care so much? Why didn't you give that brat the seven-colored demonic flower instead? You thought that I couldn't kill him when I arrived? You're always smart. But why did you suddenly act dumb this time? I'm afraid you can't kill him anyway. Mia frowned. It's true that you can lock his location and direction, but he's cultivated space power Upanishad. Even though he can't escape the ancient continent, he could run away in this area. This swamp is much bigger than a life star. It's not easy to catch him. What do you think? Haig's voice recovered its coldness. You've never wanted to bear a loss. I want to know your plan. I know you understand that this operation of mine shouldn't have any mistakes. I don't care about the grudge between you and Phelps. I will never let you guys break my plan. Haig said the last sentence curtly and resolutely. Don't worry. I know your situation. I won't cause troubles. Mia pondered for a few seconds and then said, You help me find them first. I have a plan. All right. By the crystal clear lake, Shi Yen was sitting on the brown rock and studying the seven-colored spirit flower with awe for a long time. All of a sudden, he put it back to his fantasy sky ring. Just like Shang Yingyu had said, the value of the seven-colored spirit flower was evidently much higher than the seven-colored demonic flower. To him, a warrior with heaven flames, it was constructive. With this seven-colored spirit flower, perhaps he could fuse his different heaven flames into one or two flows, which would give him a magnificent boost. However, he couldn't do anything to the soul-rotting aphis inside Yan Tian Emperor's brain. Sure, Yen darkened his face. He hated Mia so much. Thank you for telling me the functions of the seven-colored spirit flower. Lifting his face to look at Shang Yingyu, he said faintly, In return, I'm going to tell you something. Another force of the God clan has entered the swamp. This force is much more intimidating than both the Fernandez and the Ascot families. If you guys were unlucky and let them found you, I think you wouldn't have escaped death. Hearing him, Emo, Fo, Cecilia, and the others had their faces turn ash-gray. They felt so hopeless and desperate. When Phelps and Mia had joined hands, they hardly had a chance to survive. And now, another dominant force of the God Clan had just arrived. Would they have a chance to survive? Please give us a hand. Cecilia moved her sexy body agilely, looking at him with a begging face and speaking in a soft voice. If you can help us, we can get over this tough challenge and wait until the day the center opens. The center. Sure, Yen looked at the others, as he didn't have a clue. You don't know. Emo Fo sounded surprised. Wu Feng, Wu Bai, and Shang Yingyu also wore awkward countenances. Emo Fo suddenly felt reluctant. He hurried to explain. The ancient continent is divided into 5 lands. In the first 5 years, the 4 surrounding lands will open. After 5 years, the center will be unsealed. That center is the essence of the ancient continent. It has more natural defenses and much more precious materials. The guiding fruits for the next time will also appear in the center. Well, in short, the center is where all the forces fight against each other to take the best resources. You guys aren't afraid of the God Clan when you enter the center, frowned Shuryen. I heard that the center has many death traps. Dangers are everywhere. Although the God Clan is strong, it's not easy to pursue us all the time, Mo Fo explained with a dry smile. As long as you agree to help us go through the challenges, we can negotiate anything, said Wu Feng. Well, then you guys kill Sha Zhao first. Shuryen pursed his lips and looked at Sha Zhao, giving a malicious request. Suddenly, Mo Fo, Wu Feng, Wu Bai, Jiao Shan, Cecilia, and the others lay their eyes on Sha Zhao. Their eyes sparkled with strange lights. Sha Zhao felt chilled to the bone. He instinctively moved backward and summoned so many insects and venomous animals rolling under his feet. They covered him in layers. You are really going to listen to that brat? We've fought against enemies together for so long. Just one sentence from him and you guys want to kill me? If we have to sacrifice only you to exchange for everybody else, we can only say sorry to you. Wu Feng nodded coldly as he was ready to strike. Sha Zhao discolored in fright. He looked at Shuryen indignantly and shouted, Don't bully me! I didn't gain anything at that time. You even hurt me. I have never thought about taking revenge. Do you really want me to die? Shuryen wore a cold face. Mo Fo's team looked at him as if they were waiting for his signal to kill Sha Zhao right in front of him. If one of us dies, our force will be a bit weaker. Can you guys discuss your resentment later? Advised Shang Yingyu. Squinting, Shuryan's face was harsh and cold. He sneered. However, as he was about to talk, he got startled. His face became so serious. He immediately closed his eyes. The co-soul burned behind his head and sent clear soul fluctuations back to him. He was wholly concentrating. Everybody was clueless. They didn't know why Shuryen suddenly acted weird at this critical moment. They knitted their brows and waited for his decision without bothering him. He's checking the situation around. Maybe Mia and Phelps are heading here. Shang Yingyu reminded people, which made people intense. Gradually, they found Shuryen becoming sterner. In the end, he knitted his brows tightly as if he was encountering something he couldn't handle. Seeing him like that, everybody else became restlessly insecure. They became more cautious. Swoosh! The dancing flame above Shuryen's head shrank, flashed, and then disappeared into the corner of his eye. Opening his eyes, Shuryen said in a low-pitched, serious tone, It's much more troublesome. He didn't talk about asking for killing Sha Zhao anymore. Sha Zhao exhaled in relief as people focused on Shuryen. Recently, a flow of soul consciousness had gotten here. It was sensing our commotions. If I'm not wrong, the new coming force of the God Clan must have a warrior whose soul isn't bound in this ancient continent like me. Within a specific range in this swamp area, even if you hide thousands of meters underground, he can dig you up. People were so frightened. They could see the fear in each other's eyes as they were desperate in the dead corner. I wouldn't care about your lives. Shiryen took a deep breath and said solemnly, because I could always dodge Mia and Phelps. If I wanted to hide, they wouldn't even be able to find my breath. But it won't work that way anymore. That guy came. He's a big trouble to me too. It seems like I have to group with you guys. This time he didn't ask them to kill Sha Zhao or request any condition. He had directly agreed with their begging. However, they still had to wear the earth-gray face. No one could feel happy. Right before the fight, they were dispirited. They thought that they couldn't use any bit of strength to resist the God clan. We should have a better plan this time. Shiryan's eyes changed. He pulled himself together and finally got serious to counter the coming waves. Chapter 11:24. Prepare the ambush. Chapter 11:24. Prepare the ambush. By the clear lake, Shiryen was crouching on the ground and using his hard finger to draw a big circle under his feet. He also marked 4 points inside the circle. He pointed at the 4 points and clarified, "We're here. Mia's team is right next to us. Phelps's team is over there. The new coming team is at that position." He had illustrated their positions on the ground. The 4 marks he drew on the ground looked a bit like a rectangle. They stood in one corner while Mia, Haig, and Phelps were in the other 3 corners. There was a distance between them, and Haig was the furthest from them. It would take him several days at least to get here. However, Mia's team was closest to them. Mo Fo, Cecilia, Wu Feng, and Shang Yingyu squatted by Shiryen. They focused on the map he had just drawn and frowned. Including me, we have 12 warriors here. But if we face them directly, I'm afraid that we can't stand any force of theirs. Even if we scatter to attack each of the 3 forces, we will never gain the upper hand. Shiryen frowned and lowered his voice. Haig's arrival had disturbed his plan. Now, Shiryen had to group with Mo Fo. If Haig hadn't come, he would have used his sharp senses and his power Upanishad to run away. He could have swagger in this area without worrying about Mia or Phelps going after him. He could have even hidden in the dark to trouble Mia and Phelps. Perhaps he would have had a chance to rob the 7-colored demonic flower. However, Haig's arrival had messed up his good plan. Haig's soul consciousness wasn't shackled, so he could merely locate Shiryan's location. Wherever he hid, he would be dug up. Thus, he wasn't going to have a peaceful time. Shortly after, Mia would find him. He would be confined. Even though he could use the space power Upanishad to run away, he couldn't use it unlimitedly. It was the ancient continent, so its space also had restrictions. Also, he couldn't use his space power Upanishad to get out of this ancient continent. Every time he teleported, it would cost a lot of energy. He used to consider carefully. Every time he tore the space to run away, he had to consume at least a quarter of his god power. After that, he had to meditate to recover, or else he could only escape 4 times. If Mia, Haig, and Phelps scattered and formed a circle to attack him, every time he teleported away, Haig could always locate him instantly. The warriors of the 3 forces would come after him and give him no time to recover. After running 4 times, his god power would be drained, which reduced his competence massively. He wouldn't be able to withstand the enemies. Without Haig, they didn't have the ability to locate Shiryen. Shiryen wouldn't feel anxious, but it had already given him a headache. "We got good news!" Shiryan's fingers fiddled around on the ground. He lowered his voice. "The one who used the soul consciousness to sense us doesn't know that I have a similar ability yet. He wasn't careful. His soul consciousness fell directly above us. That's why I got him." Haig hadn't expected that there would be someone like him in this area with the unbound soul consciousness. Thus, he had sent his soul consciousness around several thousand meters above Shiryan's group, which had helped him count the number and assess their general competence. That's how Shiryen detected his probing soul consciousness. Different from Haig, every time Shiryen used his soul consciousness to sense around, he would never be that reckless. As soon as he touched a life energy fluctuation, he would come back immediately. He wouldn't dare to probe for a long time to figure out the details. One was careful, and the other was too confident. It helped Yen understand Haig's powers, while Haig knew nothing about him. Haig didn't know that this swamp had Yen as an unpredictable variable. We must exploit this well. Sexy Cecilia was so placid at this moment. Lights of wisdom twinkled in her eyes as she was planning something. Mo Fo, Wu Fong, and Wu Bai quieted down and listened to Cecilia. They knew that Cecilia could help them. Throughout the 5 years, every time they had planned anything wicked, Cecilia was in charge. She had proven her ability in this aspect. Yen was surprised. He started to observe this plump, sexy woman. He couldn't help but scan her body. She was wearing a tight green leather skirt that lingered on her snow-white, slender thighs. Her delicate, fist-sized waist had outlined her ample breasts. She was truly a charming Nagini with breathtaking curves. She could arouse any man looking at her. Cecilia parted her lips into a grin as she felt Yen's eyes lingering on her body. She stretched lazily and arched her tiny waist, which had heated up Mo Fo, Wu Fong, and Wu Bai. They seemed to temporarily forget the coming danger. Yen also had a flame in his eyes. He pulled himself together and said faintly, "Do you have any plan?" For the time being, he hadn't had any solution. Any of the 3 forces they were about to face was strong enough to smash them. With Haig providing the locations, Phelps's and Mia's teams had a good guide. With this premise, they couldn't play any trick. Let me think carefully. It's really annoying and troublesome. Cecilia charmingly placed a finger on her full-lit mouth. She slowly squatted and studied the map that Yen had drawn. Because of this posture, her ample butts had showcased her sexy curves that were about to tear her tight leather skirt. Sha Zhao and some men sitting behind her gawked and drooled. They couldn't help but swallow saliva, cursing that slutty woman. Shang Yu kept a cold face. She looked at Cecilia with disdain and then at Sha Zhao, Mo Fo, and Wu Bai. She couldn't hide her sneer. Sha Zhao, Mo Fo, and Wu Bai laughed to cover their embarrassing situation. They had to put an effort in taking their eyes off Cecilia's hot body. Mo Fo gave a dry smile. Everybody should think. Yeah, just try. We will have a solution then. Who knows what dirty things you have in your mind? Shang Yu scolded him. They felt more shamed. However, Cecilia seemed to not be bothered. She knew that Sha Zhao, Mo Fo, and the others had sneaked on her. She giggled. Her beautiful eyes flirted, raking through Sha Zhao, Mo Fo, and Wu Bai. Her seducing posture made people drool. Oh, this slut. Everybody gasped. They felt irritated and they felt annoyingly hot inwardly. You are all about to die, but your mind still has room for those things. Pathetic. Shang Yu rose her voice. Since they didn't know when they would lose their lives in this damn place, they released their real desires. They wanted to enjoy the pleasure right in front of them. As a woman, Shang Yu didn't understand this negative thought of men. Thus she became angry. There's a solution. I wonder if it works. She smiled at Yen, and only Yen, automatically ignoring Mo Fo and Sha Zhao. Mo Fo, Wu Bai, Jiao Shan, Jiao Hai, and the others showed their admiration, although they felt a little lost, because Cecilia had paid her attention only to Yen, the one with the special function here. Do tell, Yen said faintly. Cecilia looked like a ripe peach. She had the aura of a mature woman, which was an uncontrollable attraction to any man. Yen wasn't an exception. However, since he had cultivated the unique power Upanishad which had made him continuously struggle with negative emotions, his ability to control his desires was much better than normal people. Thus, he could quiet down his surging desire. He wouldn't have lustful thoughts when seeing Cecilia's sexy body. He could be sober when dealing with important issues. At this point, Mo Fo, Wu Bai, Jiao Hai, and Jiao Shan couldn't compare to him. They didn't have experiences in fighting the negative desires. Shi Yan's coldness and calmness had surprised Cecilia and Shang Yingyu. They gazed at him and regarded him more highly. A man who could stay calm in the critical moment and could sober his mind from the negative emotions was an exceptional warrior indeed. The two women discreetly compared Shi Yan to Mo Fo, Wu Bai, and Jiao Shan. Their pretty eyes sparkled as they were touched. Mo Fo, Wu Bai, Jiao Shan, and Sha Zhao were all outstanding talents of the Great Star areas. They were all future leaders of the forces everywhere. Most of them had competences to challenge warriors whose realms higher than theirs. Their minds were made of steel. However, those warriors couldn't be as calm as Shi Yan in the critical moments. It seemed like Shi Yan wasn't affected by the situation. Shang Yingyu and Cecilia were scared. They felt lucky that they didn't cause grudges against Shi Yan and had him on their side. They don't know that we can see their direction. With this premise, we can prepare an ambush. Cecilia pointed at an area which was also the lake. This place is good. I cultivate water power, Upanishad. I can use this lake to set up many good things. Mo Fo, you have the earth power, Upanishad. You can do more. We can dig up the ground and set up traps here. We should prepare layers of barriers and restrictions. We will activate that at the moment they jump in, and we can even leave early. Not a bad idea. Mo Fo nodded immediately. He assessed the surroundings and grinned. I have a lot of fiery earth mines. Once it explodes, even incipient God realm experts can't dodge in the short distance. I also have the enlightening electric lance. Shang Yingyu's eyes brightened. Right, we can do this. Shi Yan continued, strange light sparkling in his eyes. To make it more perfect, I can stay here as bait. We will guide them into our net. Chapter 11:25. Why me all the time? Chapter 11:25. Why me all the time? No. Surprisingly, when Cecilia, Mo Fo, and Wu Feng heard that he wanted to take risks, they discolored and stopped him altogether. Shi Yan frowned. Everybody noticed something strange. They all looked at Shang Yingyu, waiting for her explanation. Under people's gazing, Shang Yingyu said coldly and reluctantly as usual, if something happens to you, we won't have eyes anymore. We can't survive in the swamp afterward. So, anybody can take risks except you. We won't let anything unexpected happen to you. Everybody nodded and advised him. Cecilia has a good plan. If nothing unexpected happens, once we leave, the others will pass by this area to chase after us. Shi Yan calculated for a while. Mia's team is closest to us. We just need to change our direction for a while. Then, she will definitely bring her force to chase after us. And to do that, she has to cross this area. Shi Yan raked through the other warriors, his face cold and harsh. Unexpected things happen all the time. What if Mia doesn't go this way? What if she isn't going to pass through this area? If she doesn't go this way, will we just waste our barriers and tools that we've set up here? If our first move can't hurt the others severely, our next step will be much more difficult. Swinging his hand, he said, resolutely, I'll stay. When I see that the situation isn't right, I can teleport away. Except for me, who can do that? No one answered him. Okay, then we'll carry out this plan. I don't want to discuss more unless you can nominate someone who will stay here and die instead of me, said Shi Yan indifferently. Everybody instinctively looked at Sha Zhao with sinister eyes. The cold, vicious light in Mo Fo's and Wu Feng's eyes made people shiver without feeling cold. What if we beat Sha Zhao up until he's almost dead and tie him here? Do you think it would be better? Asked Wu Feng in a cold voice. Mo Fo, Wu Feng, and Cecilia nodded gently. They thought that it wasn't a bad idea, and it was possible anyway. Sha Zhao felt so cold. He instinctively backed off and shouted crazily, "You mother f asterisk curs! Why single me out every time? Who did I mock among of you?" He suddenly recalled something, looking at Sher Yin indignantly as his flame of anger shot up into the sky. "I know you want to earn his favor. He's useful to us. To please him and save him, you want to sacrifice me. All right, I don't want to play with you anymore. I'll get going now." Sha Zhao wore a cold face. He felt so disappointed with Mo Fo's team. He hated the wicked Mo Fo and Wu Feng more than he hated Sher Yin. "Enough!" Sher Yin shouted solemnly, his voice icy cold. "It's true that I don't like Sha Zhao and I want to kill him. But not now. We're all in a death trap. Any force of the enemy is stronger than us. If you think about sacrificing Sha Zhao and wearing out your competence, I think I don't need to join hands with you guys because it's impossible to escape their pursuit going with you." Hearing him, people became embarrassed. No one answered him. "It's you too. Why did you suggest such a dirty solution?" Jiao Shan snarled at Mo Fo and Wu Feng. "He knows to prioritize the important matters. Why can't you? If you guys want that, our brothers will leave this group too. If you can sacrifice Sha Zhao, maybe it's our brothers the next time. What do you say?" The others also nodded. Their faces looked resolute, as if they were all about to separate from this group. "I said I'd stay." Sure, Yen was sitting on the brown rock by the lake. He lifted up his head to look at the sky. He released his kosal and said, "Mia's team will arrive in 1 day and 1 night. I think it's time for you to prepare. I will watch over you guys. Once their soul consciousness starts moving, I will tell you to stop. We shouldn't let him figure anything out." Sha Zhao stayed away from the others. He was ready to run for his life. At this moment, he hesitated. If he left this group, once he encountered any team, he would be killed instantly. There was no chance to survive. Sha Zhao knew this very well. Unless he had no option, he would never want to leave. "We admit that we were wrong. Don't go, Sha Zhao. We won't behave like that anymore." Mo Fo pondered and bowed to Sha Zhao in the distance, raising his hand. "By the name of my ancestor, I'm sure I will never aim at you any more. No more." Cecilia and Wu Feng also nodded. They understood that if Sha Zhao left, people here would feel distressed, and it would be hard to get them united one more time. They were the weakest in this swamp. If the number of their members were reduced, they wouldn't have a chance to survive when confronting the other 3 forces. Thus, they had to put their ego aside and beg Sha Zhao not to leave. "I'm going to give you one more chance." Sha Zhao snorted. He walked back to them with a stiff back. Actually, he had just sighed in relief, discreetly. He frowned, looking at Sher Yin, who was watching the sky, his face awkward. "Everybody seize the time and work now." Mo Fo screamed. "We should take the time when he doesn't notice us and take action. Quick, arrange the barriers." He took them to a clear ground, pitching his voice. "Move away. I'm going underground with the fiery earth mines. I'll also set up a restriction. Once there's pressure on the surface, it will be activated. Don't stay too close to me." Mo Fo's icy eyes flashed sinisterly. As people were watching, he slowly drilled into the ground, which hadn't troubled him. He could move underground as smooth as fish swimming in water. Sher Yin squinted and paid attention. He found out that Mo Fo had entered 1,000 meters underground, and he was skillfully installing something. "I will install the Yin Thunder electric lance on that tree. Don't touch its branches or leaves. It will affect my restriction." Shang Yingyu's cold voice arose. She was moving like a zigzag lightning strike between the trees around. Her porcelain arms danced in the air, making many magical hand seals and imprinting on the trees. She had even hung some special treasures there. "I'll check the bottom of the lake." Cecilia smiled charmingly before jumping into the crystal lake, like a beautiful mermaid. She didn't even make the water splash. She got into the bottom of the lake quietly. The others also scattered and worked on their own barriers or restrictions. They had used many secret treasures that were fatally powerful. From this area, their ambush extended and made this area a field of terrifying barriers and restrictions. The energy fluctuations can be seen. Don't act rashly to stay concealed. If they find us, our labor here will be in vain. While arranging her restriction, Shang Ingyu reminded the others. Got it. We understand. Don't worry. I'm good at these kinds of ambush setups. I'm sure I will scare the *TCH Mia out of her wits. Many warriors here were from the influential star areas. They clenched their jaws and used the most intimidating tricks they had. They had prepared this area with danger at every step. Even Shi Yan felt chilled just watching them. The Wu brothers had used many silver balls. Once they impacted by something, they would shoot countless beams of cold air, which could enter the soul altar directly and stab the sea of consciousness. Those sharp air beams would shatter the soul directly. Sha Zhao from the Gu God sect had released many demonic insects and venomous animals in the swamp. Those things were so tiny that Shi Yan's soul consciousness could hardly detect them. As they were merely invisible because they were so small, they could scatter in the air and earth and heaven energy around. Once the warriors took in the energy, they would enter their veins and body. They would be weakened unknowingly, and they wouldn't be able to mobilize their energy anymore. Feeling the toxic insects that were dozens of times smaller than a hair sinking into the swamp not far from him, Shi Yan tried to count how many there were. He found more than dozens of thousands. Shi Yan felt his scalp tingling. He suddenly felt lucky that he got the poison-dipped cold bead. Otherwise, in the previous battle, not only could he not damage Sha Zhao, he was also poisoned badly. Sha Zhao could have killed him. Although this man's god power wasn't thick enough, he had many malignant tricks that were really hard to defend. Shi Yan had a feeling that if Mo Fo and Wu Feng had attacked to kill him, perhaps Sha Zhao could have killed some of them. While Shi Yan was still thinking, Sha Zhao lifted his head to look at him, his face odd. He stooped and his voice was stiff. I'll remember that you stopped them for me. I will repay this favor of yours. However, the grudge between us, it's not easy to be lifted up like that. Shi Yan was surprised. He stayed bewildered for a while before he could chuckle. He just nodded and said nothing. Splash! The water rushing sound arose from the lake behind him. A sexy figure moved agilely like a swimming fish slowly emerged. Her wet hair draped around her shoulders. Cecilia wore the leather dress that showcased her hot body. As her slender thighs moved in the lake, half of her body emerged from the water. She looked at Shi Yan in the distance and said, I've installed an interesting toy under the lake, but I need to control it. If I stay, it can perform at maximum capacity, which can damage them badly. Hey, can you take one person with you in that critical moment? Can you bring me and escape the scene? I'm sure I can kill one or two instantly if they get into the lake and fight. Shi Yan's eye flashed a strange light. He looked at Cecilia, who was showing him her absolute confidence. He pondered for a while and then nodded. I can take you with me, but you have to stay close to me and you can never leave for even a moment. Can you do that? Of course I can. Cecilia smiled happily and talked seductively. Don't worry. I won't cause you any trouble. I'm sure I will obey. Oh yeah, I will stick to you. Shi Yan frowned. He didn't look at her anymore and continued to watch the sky. He had to focus to prevent Haig's soul consciousness. Cecilia smiled, her beautiful legs moving as she slowly sank into the lake. Chapter 11, 26. The Fearful Formation Under the Lake. Chapter 11, 26. The Fearful Formation Under the Lake. _ It was a muddy road that meandered like a snake. Coin-sized leaves floated above the murky water and released faint, toxic gas. Mia took Man and the warriors of the Fernandez and moved along the narrow trail in the middle of a marsh at a normal pace. Yuman relaxed. He didn't need to use his energy to trace the opponents anymore. As Haig was giving them directions from time to time, he was free. Haig's soul consciousness could cover a larger area faster and more precisely than Yuman can track with his energy. Thus, he didn't need to waste his energy. Their speed wasn't so fast. Mia asked them not to hurry. They should consider recovering their energy first. Mia clearly knew that Phelps and Haig were also heading towards Shiryen. Comparing the distances, her team was closer. If nothing unexpected happened, they would encounter Shiryan's team first. But it wasn't what Mia wanted to see. Mia assumed that Mo Fo Wufong and the others were in a dead corner. Haig's arrival had decided their fate. They had been backed into a deadly situation. If her team met them first, as the situation didn't go well, the others would risk their lives, which would possibly bring her team significant losses. She had brought the warriors of her family to this ancient continent with the primary purpose of entering the center. Before it was unsealed, she didn't want to lose many experts from her family. She wanted her people to slow down because she hoped they could get to the opponent's gathering point relatively at the same time as Phelps and Haig, which could reduce the efforts to clear up Mo Fo, Wufong, and the others. Her precise plan had to change all of a sudden because of Haig's instant message. There's a couple in front of you guys by the lake. They didn't leave with the others. They are staying by the lake now. Haig sent her the message. I've checked that man. He must be the one you asked me to focus on, the one who cultivates space power Upanishad. He is staying there with a woman? Mia's voice was getting colder. Yeah, they're staying by the lake. Haha. I guess they seized the time to do something, sneered Haig. Mia's beautiful eyes flared with cold light. She replied nonchalantly, Understood. I'll get there quickly. She cut off their communication and called out, Guys, speed up. Yuman was surprised. The guy that has robbed the brilliant star fruit tree and our 7-colored demonic flower is isolated. We need to arrange well and try our best to kill him before Haig and Phelps come, explained Mia. Yuman's eyes brightened up. He nodded as he understood. Together with the warriors of the Fernandez family, they accelerated. The lake was like a flawless mirror that was illuminated by the stars above. Their reflections twinkled in silver light on the lake surface. Sitting on a green-brown rock, Shiryen lifted his head and watched the stars twinkling in the sky. He squinted and stayed quiet. The clear and cold starlight sprinkled from the sky, congregating above his head as if there was a funnel that led to his brain. It gave him a fresh, pure air that wouldn't leave any dregs. The ancient continent moved around different big star areas. It wouldn't stop for a second as it was brutally crushing all the asteroids or dead stars standing in its way. The horizon of the ancient continent had deep blue halos that covered the entire sky. However, those halos were transparent and they allowed the light of the sun, moon, and stars to get through. Sitting on the rock, Shiryen didn't think about anything. He quieted down his mind and he didn't even gather the earth and heaven energy proactively. Under that circumstance, he felt like he was getting close to this ancient continent. He felt like he had merged with the swamp and became a component of this ancient continent. The coastal that was developed from the origin of grace, mainland, was taking in the aura like a small tornado. Slowly, earth and heaven energy gathered and poured into the ethereal extent inside Shiryan's soul altar. Starlight sprinkled and disappeared into the ethereal extent, entering a brilliant star in there. With the marvelous power of the brilliant star fruit tree, Shiryen had reached second sky of ethereal god realm, and his understanding of star power Upanishad had made new progress. And many different abilities of the star power Upanishad was still hovering in the tier of powers Upanishad. He just needed to sink his mind into the soul altar to touch the truth of star power. Mia's team hadn't arrived yet. He still had time, so he had to not waste it. Shi Yen began to understand the new essence and ability of stars. His empty eyes looked at the horizon where the stars twinkling brightly. He suddenly hallucinated that he could reach the stars unlimitedly. It felt like if he reached out his hand, he could touch the stars in the sky. The brilliant, vast galaxy with countless stars moving around seemed to have something resonate with him. The dome of the sky of the ancient continent was covered by an icy blue halo, but it didn't prevent the starlight. The star energy reaching him was clear and swift. He said quietly, feeling his body get refreshed and cooled. His bones and veins became crystal-like and started to sparkle after they were filled with star power. He stood calmly to comprehend the essence of the stars. Splash! A charming, graceful shadow emerged from the lake behind him. Cecilia appeared, her wet hair draping behind her shoulder. She smiled brightly. I've completed the preparation. When will Mia arrive? Shi Yen was sinking into his own world. A long time later, he woke up a little absent-minded. He didn't turn around and tried to sense for a while. His brows knitted together as he retrieved his soul consciousness. He pulled himself together and said in a low-pitched voice, 2 hours at most. They have accelerated much faster. At their previous speed, Mia's team would need half a day to approach this area. However, after his recent sensing, he found that Mia's team was really close to them. Apparently, Mia's team had sped up several times. They were rushing to this area. That fast? Cecilia was astounded. Her long eyelashes twitched. She parted her lips into a seductive smile. There are so many barriers and restrictions outside the lake. If we sit by the lake like this, they will have doubts. I think we should hide. What do you suggest? Shi Yen nodded and asked. He also knew that it was suspicious if they kept sitting on the rock like this when Mia came. Thus, he asked Cecilia for her opinion. You and I will get under the lake to hide. At least we have to make sure that they won't see us. They would think that we are cultivating in the lake or doing something. Cecilia's charming face blushed. Her curvy body shivered slightly, but it was almost unrecognizable. Well, we should deceive them and make them think that we don't recognize their arrival because we are too busy with our work. They will buy it and slowly creep in. Shi Yen was moved. He knew that her idea wasn't bad. He nodded, okay. As he hadn't finished talking, starlight twirled around him. He moved like a beautiful meteor, drawing a marvelous curve in the air and falling into the center of the lake where Cecilia was floating. Seeing Shi Yen flying over, Cecilia's mesmerizing eyes glinted with joy. Her graceful body swayed a little. A massive bubble arose under her body and covered her entirely. Her jade-like hand made a cut and the bubble had a narrow slit. She waved her hand. Get in. This transparent bubble wasn't very different from the invisible light cage that Shi Yen had. It was spacious if Cecilia stood alone, but if Shi Yen got in, it would be a little tight. Shi Yen couldn't help but frown. There are layers of restrictions down there. If you dive alone and touch them, you will waste my labor of preparing them. Cecilia understood his hesitation. She chuckled. What are you afraid of? I won't bite. Moreover, you used to tell me that I have to stay close to you. I'm doing what I'm told. Shi Yen didn't say more. He swayed through the narrow slit of the bubble, standing shoulder by shoulder with Cecilia inside the bubble. This 5-colored, glinting transparent bubble was half an air balloon. The two of them stood inside it while it slowly sank to the bottom of the lake. The water surface closed above their heads. This bubble had a fresh scent of water and the sweet aroma from Cecilia's body that could make people sink into it. As the bubble lowered down, Shi Yen observed his surroundings. He was frightened at first sight. After they've reached the depth of 100 meters, Shi Yen saw so many transparent bubbles of various sizes. They were moving around in some trajectory, and they didn't float up to the surface. There were hundreds of them. Each bubble contained fierce energy fluctuations. Those energy fluctuations had resonated with the water in the lake. When the bubble moved, they could hide their energy fluctuations. If Shi Yan wasn't underwater, he wouldn't be able to find these strange commotions. He couldn't help but release his soul consciousness to observe more. Discolored, Shi Yan took a deep breath. He turned to Cecilia and said, "I think I can't run away if you want to kill me here." The dense bubbles in the lake were like terrifying energy bombs that Cecilia controlled. If those bubbles exploded at once, the explosive power could burst off his body. His eyes drilled at Cecilia. He suddenly felt cold inwardly. He urged his powers and prepared himself. If Cecilia showed a little action, he would use the space power Upanishad to run away immediately. He would never let Cecilia control his life. "Why would I have to trick you?" Cecilia smiled like a blooming flower. Her beautiful eyes could sink into people's souls. She burst out laughing and said naturally, "You are too vigilant. Why do you think everyone else is your enemy? Being careful isn't a bad thing." Shi Yan's face was still severe. His nerves were tense as he had always put up guard. Chapter 1127 Stealth. Chapter 1127 Stealth _ The bright lake twinkled like a fish scale under the light of a star that was really clear and beautiful. Hundreds of meters under the water surface contained so many bubbles in different sizes. Each bubble carried tremendous energy, fluctuations that could destroy even the sky or incipient god realm warrior. Inside one of those transparent bubbles were two shadows. The distance between them was around 10 centimeters. It felt like they could even hear each other's breathing. A pure fragrance filled the bubble and made the atmosphere romantic. Cecilia's charming face was rosy and it revealed her glamour. Her sexy, mature body looked like it could drip juice. She swayed at her spot, creating heat. However, Shi Yan had nothing romantic in his mind. His eyes gazed at Cecilia with caution and strange intentions. She had proposed this ambush plan. She had the chance to stay with him in the middle of a deadly great formation under the lake. She even got him here with her. All the details matched. If someone said that Cecilia didn't have any other idea for him, Shi Yan would never buy it. He could vaguely feel that Cecilia wanted to do something through him. She had made him enter the bubble and let him see the energy fluctuation inside those thick bubbles. It would be her next trick. He had already sensed that the energy compressed in those bubbles was too much. Once they exploded, besides Cecilia, the one who had arranged this formation, no other people in this lake could survive. Even Shi Yan himself. "What do you have in mind?" The mature beauty in front of him smiled gently with her succulent red lips. Her face blushed as she released the stunning charisma that could heat up any man. Shi Yan studied her as many thoughts flashing in his mind. He pulled himself together and chuckled. "Nothing. I just think you're too beautiful. Jejia. I think I can't control myself." He didn't wait for Cecilia to say anything, and he grabbed her snow-white arm in just a blink of an eye. He talked, feeling hot. "Jejia, your skin is so marvelous." Cecilia's skin was porcelain white and as smooth as silk. Her bright skin felt so good under his hand. He decided to take action proactively. He didn't want his life to be held in someone's hands. Whether Cecilia had lousy intentions for him or not, he had to assume it was the worst situation. If Cecilia pushed him out or left this bubble alone and activated the formation in the bottom of the lake, he couldn't escape alive. Perhaps he wouldn't have time to urge his space power Upanishad. It meant that Cecilia was holding his life. He wouldn't allow it. As he gripped Cecilia's arm, he had a physical contact with her that would prevent Cecilia from ditching him in just a blink. If Cecilia had the guts to ambush him, with this close distance, he was confident that he would smash her god body quickly. When he grabbed Cecilia by her arm, Cecilia became uncomfortable. Her beautiful eyes had a gleam of chaotic and fearful feelings. She smiled gently. "Well, even if you like me, you can't behave badly to me, though." While talking, Cecilia quickly raised her arm, trying to get rid of his grip. However, Shi Yan still clutched her arm, his eyes hot and his face passionate. He whispered as if he was dreaming. "Well, in fact, when I first met you, I found that I couldn't control myself falling in love with you. Now that we're alone here, forgive me if I can't control myself anymore." Cecilia changed her countenance slightly. She cursed Shi Yan under her breath for talking nonsense. However, she could only smile embarrassedly. She spoke reluctantly. "Get off me. We can talk. Don't touch me. I'm not going to let go of you." Shi Yan put on a perverted face, but his eyes were too calm and cold. His eyes drilled into her. "I really like you." The more frightened Cecilia got, the more certain Shi Yan was. His other hand reached out, grabbing Cecilia's waist and pulling her into his chest. With a fragranced body touching his chest, Shi Yan couldn't control the vibe in his heart. Her soft back stuck on his chest. One hand of his placed on Cecilia's smooth abdomen, and it didn't have a single scar. He could feel the bouncing, firm but cheeks under his palm. He felt hot indeed. "Well, we still have around 2 hours. We should do something fun to kill time. No one knows how the future will turn. If we get the chance to have fun, let's just have fun. We should enjoy life. We don't want to regret anything, right?" Cecilia stood with her back to him, her face fearful and her eyes getting colder. "Can you let me first?" "I can't." "Sure," Yan said firmly. Cecilia felt chilled. She suddenly recognized Shi Yan's purpose and the reason why he had acted strangely all of a sudden. She got it. "You said you like me. Is it true?" Cecilia relaxed her tense body, smiling and endlessly seducing. Her neck was red. "If you like me, agree with me on one thing, will you?" "Tell me then." Shi Yan's eyes were calm. He held Cecilia by one hand while the other hand was placed on her belly. It gave him a marvelous feeling. He stroked her belly and brought his mouth near her left earlobe, talking huskily, as he had a sexy woman in his arms. Even if he was so cautious, his body still had a masculine reaction. His lower body got erected eventually, and he placed by Cecilia's beautiful shaped, curvy, but he could feel his blood boil. "I want to get to the center. There's something I must have. It matters a lot to my future and my position in the family." Feeling Shi Yan's ambiguous move, Cecilia cursed him for being despicable. She quickly pulled herself together. She didn't want her mind to be disturbed by Shi Yan, which would lead her to make the wrong decisions. "You want me to help you, eh? What can you give me in return?" Shi Yan grinned. The hand wandering around her smooth stomach slowly rose to the spot just under her ample breasts. Cecilia jolted back. She hurried to press his mischievous hand. Her smile became more begrudging. "Didn't you say that you liked me? Does it require a condition to help the one you like? It doesn't sound nice, though." "Well, I like a lot of people. If I've come to help every single of them, how could I reach the realm and attainment I have today?" Shi Yan sneered, and he arched his lower body so his hard shaft could be placed between her soft, plump butt cheeks. Feeling a wonderful warmth there, his desire rocketed. He thought that it was really hard to control now. This woman was so juicy and sexy. It has been a long time since he had touched a woman. If it continued this way, he wouldn't be able to help it anymore. Cecilia immediately felt that something was wrong. She halted right in front of the edge. She turned around and pushed Shi Yan's hands, her face sober. "All right, I admit that I want to ask you to help me with something, but I don't want to use my body in exchange. Please show respect." Her usual charming face disappeared. She seemed to turn into someone else who was dead serious. Sure, Yin couldn't react properly. He studied her and then gave a cold smile. "You don't want to ask me for a favor. You want to force me, right?" Glancing at the bubbles around, Yin spoke calmly. I'm holding you now. If you dare make any wrong move, I will kill you quickly. I won't show mercy." Cecilia changed her look, but then she smiled again. "Yeah, it's true that I've had other thoughts, but I have none at this moment. And you've used me. We will consider that nothing happened. I will let you hold my hand. We'll talk. What do you say?" "Well, I think that the way we've talked wasn't bad," Yen grinned evilly. Sure, Yen moved his mischievous hands, just like Cecilia had suggested. He clamped her hand to ensure that she couldn't do anything evil to him. Then he frowned and asked, "Okay, tell me. If I can help you, what will you offer me?" "What do you want?" "You. Is it possible?" "No." "Then what can you give me?" Cecilia quieted down. Her bright eyes gazed at Yen. She suddenly had a headache. Yan's smart wit and deliberation made her powerless. She knew that it wouldn't work if she wanted to ambush him. "If you need a woman, how about Mia?" She thought for a while and then said with bright eyes, "If Mia falls into the lake, I'm sure that I can confine her. If you can bring her and escape instantly, you can do anything to her. What about this condition? If Mia or Yuman enters the lake, you just need to help me confine one of them." Yen said, "I want to use one of them to get the 7-colored demonic flower. If I get what I want, I will consider your request." "That's not good enough," shouted Cecilia. "Why do I have to help you confine Mia or Yuman just so that you will consider my request? Why can't you just agree to my request?" "It's simple. I agreed to go with you guys. It's a big favor already. Otherwise, the God Clan would have killed you quickly," answered Yen coldly. "You don't have the right to bargain with me. You didn't have that right from the beginning. And I hate women who set me up the most. If you do it once again, I will kill you directly. All right, I may not need to do it myself. I just need to tell Wu Feng, Sha Zhao, or Mo Fo that I want you dead. They will kill you. Do you believe that or not?" Hearing him, Cecilia didn't have a tinge of color on her face anymore. She looked at him in rage. She shouted, "You don't talk with reason. You're the one who plotted against me first. Don't blame me." Yen smiled faintly and took a deep breath. "All right, pull yourself together. Help me with this, and I will consider your request. After that, we can talk about the conditions." Pausing for a while, he lowered his voice. "Mia's team is coming." Chapter 1128, The Sudden Incident. Chapter 1128, The Sudden Incident, _. Inside the marsh, the group of warriors tried to reduce their auras and slow down their pace. They continued to move forward, but moved more discreetly. Yuman was the leader. He frowned, and electric beams shot out of his deep eyes, as if he was trying to look further ahead of them. He looked careful. Mia and the Fernandez followed behind him. None of them looked impatient. They were all following Yuman's instructions. They all trusted him. Haig's news isn't wrong. Yuman stopped after sensing for a while. He looked at the lake far in front of them and said, "Many warriors used to gather there. They seem to have struggled against each other for a while." Yuman picked up a pinch of mud under his feet, rubbed it between his fingers, and then looked at the trees around. Those people used to walk around the place. It seems that they had arranged something. Mia was astounded. She suddenly held her porcelains white arm high. All the members of the Fernandez family halted and stood quietly at their spots. They were vigilant, watching their surroundings. "You means they could have perhaps arranged some restrictions?" asked Mia. Yuman nodded, pointing at the ground in front of them where there were a lot of thick bushes and lush trees. He answered firmly, "From some traces, those trees have been touched. They did it secretly. Fortunately, I've been familiar with this area for years. I can see their small streaks. It's strange." Mia was bewildered. Did they know that we would pass by this area? If not, why had they set up barriers and restrictions here? "I'm not sure." It was also what Yuman couldn't reason. They didn't know that Yen was like Haig. His soul consciousness wasn't bound by the ancient continent. He could guess the location they had to cross with the direction they were going. That was why he had asked the others to prepare this area. Maybe it's not aimed at us. Perhaps they've prepared these things for Haig or Phelps. Anyway, no matter what, we have to be careful. Mia thought and then smiled. She turned to talk to Bai Hao's team of 4. You guys go and scout first. Bai Hao's team darkened their face at the same time. They could listen to Mia and Yu Man's conversation clearly. They knew that the muddy ground, the bushes, and even the small forest in front of them had a lot of dangers that could take their lives. As Mia was afraid that her family members would get hurt, she wanted the 4 of them to be sacrificing pawns, which enraged Bai Hao's team. However, they didn't dare to show that. Mia's team was so domineering. They had proven that indeed. At the same time, before they came here, their chief had asked them to obey Mia's orders. Bai Hao could only reluctantly agree. Everybody be careful. The area in front of us isn't safe. He was so tense. Abruptly, his mind became clear and cautious. He urged the god power and circulated it in his body. The other 3 warriors of the Bai family followed him. They urged and accumulated energy that then turned into the phantom of a fighting eagle and a python. They stood at their spots and sent the fantasy beasts to explore the area at a slow speed. Mia's icy eyes flashed with a gleam of heartless intention. She coldly looked at Bai Hao's group and then turned around to signal the members of the Fernandez family to back off a little further. Several hundred meters deep in the lake. Shi Yan stood inside a transparent bubble, still clutching on Cecilia's arm like they were lovers without any distance. The atmosphere between them was ambiguously romantic. However, they both looked stern as if the battle was taking place right in front of them. So, Cecilia exhaled, her breath as tender as the scent of the orchid. Her beautiful eyes were filled with anxiety and uneasy feeling. The god power in her body was streaming around continuously. It had synchronized to the different-sized bubbles around them. The explosive energy inside those bubbles was connected to her thought. She could trigger the bubbles at any time she wanted. Those bubbles were a kind of peculiar treasures. It could gather the steam in the lake or the ocean and compress them. When she triggered them, they would burst at the same time and create a terrifying energy wave. She had fabricated those things herself, so she understood very well how tremendous they could be. She had planned to use the instant destructive power of those bubbles to damage Mia's team severely. It would give her more chances to survive. She had also proposed and carried out this ambush plan. She didn't want to see any mistake that would make people doubt her talents. Thus, she was even more anxious. It isn't really going well. Shi Yan's face was cold and stern. He glanced at her and then closed his eyes. The flaming kosal behind his back swayed and released the soul energy fluctuation. Cecilia was really nervous. She screamed, "What's happening?" "That Yu Man has mastered tracing skills. He seems to have found something. Mia's team has halted now. Mia has sent the Bai family's warriors to scout." Opening his eyes, Shi Yan knitted his brows. "Does Yu Man know how to track people? He can read signs and streaks and connect them to figure out information? Damn, we forgot this man." Cecilia regretted and said worriedly, "Throughout these 5 years, Mia and Phelps have depended on Yu Man's tracking skills to find us one by one. Although he doesn't have the power like the soul consciousness of the man who you've mentioned, Yu Man isn't an ordinary warrior. It seems like our plan won't go as we've estimated." Sure, Yan rubbed his chin, light flashing in his brain as he contemplated. Mo Fo, Sha Zhao, and Shang Yingyu had used a lot of precious weapons and efforts to arrange those restrictions and barriers. If they can't work, they will be very upset. I'm afraid that we don't have the chance to set up other traps. Cecilia furrowed her bold brows, her charming face filled with an anxious look. She was trying to formulate another plan. "Sure, Yen suddenly let out a low-pitched scream. Wait a minute. While by house team sent their beast phantoms to scout, they were walking towards the lake. Mia stopped them all of a sudden. Everybody was surprised. They looked at her without a clue. By Hao's face was more grimaced. He forced his temper down and gave her a bad face. Lady Mia, what else do you want us to do? Mia chuckled and waved her hand. Don't rush. Haig said that the man in the lake can use space power Upanishad. Once you trigger the barriers and restrictions, he can leave immediately. We can't catch him then. From Yu Man's judgment, Mia gave an assumption that she thought was correct. She assumed that Yen had set up those restrictions so he could do his business with Cecilia under the lake. When his restrictions were touched, he would be alerted immediately, and he could use his space power Upanishad to flee. With such an assumption, Mia didn't want By Hao's team's activity to alert the others. She calmed down and said to Yuman, we should have a better plan. We should disorganize the space around here so he can't use his space power Upanishad to escape. We still have time to plan while he knows nothing about. It should be more than one solution. Yuman smiled sinisterly. For example, we can stir up the earth and heaven energy here like a storm. It could create magnetic energy storms that shatter space. Another plan is... Yuman contemplated and smiled coldly. He was giving plans to Mia, while Mia earnestly listened to him with nods. Dash. At the bottom of the lake. How is it? Cecilia was about to crack from seeing Yan's strange reaction. Her mesmerizing face was dark. Something even worse. Yan forced a smile. You got it. Ah. Cecilia covered her mouth and hissed. They know we're under the lake. They also know our identities. They're going to stir up the space here, so I can't use the space power Upanishad to run away. Squinting, he sensed and said, every space has critical points. When they are shattered or blocked, warriors who cultivate space power Upanishad can't use them to run away. They are trying to seal those critical nodes, as they thought that I don't know what they are doing. After that, they can catch us like fish in a fish tank. Listening to him, Cecilia discolored and screamed, if our plan can't work well, we don't need to stay here. We should go now. If all of your bubbles in this lake explode at the same time to create a blasting destruction, how many people can it kill? Asked Yan all of a sudden. Even if the first sky of incipient god realm expert comes here, he will die. Cecilia was confident, but then she changed into a depressed mood right after that. What's good with it now, though? If we have to pay the big price that's our deaths, it isn't worth it. We should go before they finish that. If we linger, something bad will happen to us. Well, we can play a little bit. Yan took a deep breath, his face grave. They don't know how savage our outer barriers are, and they also don't know the formation you've arranged here. They thought that the barriers we've set up are to alert us. How to play? If we fail, and you can't take me out of here, isn't it different from dying under the lake? Cecilia continued to shake her head, her face fearful. I think it's not worth our lives. Whether it's worth or not, I'll decide. You just need to listen to me. Yan suddenly smiled and gripped Cecilia's arm, talking to her in a stiff voice. Don't worry. Even if they can confine the space, they can do it only in a small area. As long as we storm out, I can leave with you immediately. Cecilia paled. Looking at his cold face, she felt so chilled. She cursed him under her breath for his boldness. Sure, Yin gripped her for a while and then released her. While Cecilia was confused, Yin grinned. They've successfully finished. If you kill me now, you will die later. No doubt. And you will reveal your secret under this lake. I think you're not that stupid. Cecilia stared at him for a while, her beautiful face filled with reluctance. As the situation had come to this, she pulled herself together and rolled her eyes at Yen. Forget it. I will play with you for a while. I hope we will survive. Don't worry. We will survive, said Shiryen earnestly. Chapter 1129, Instant Kill. Chapter 1129, Instant Kill, _ Under the lake, transparent bubbles bobbed slowly. The bubble that was holding Shiryen and Cecilia swayed and fell towards the bottom of the lake. It was heading to a rigid area that had a lot of dazzlingly sparkling crystals. However, they weren't free to enjoy the beautiful surroundings. All the barriers and attacks will be triggered at the area where Mo hid the fiery earth mine. If the fiery earth mine doesn't explode, everything will be. The fiery earth mine will be activated by tremors, vibrations, or weight applied on the ground. As long as someone's walking or dropping something, they will be triggered instantly. I don't know many pieces of fiery earth mines Missouri Foe had installed, but if one of them explodes, the rest will explode all together and will activate the restrictions set up by Shang Yingyu, Xiaozhao, and Wu Feng. Instantly, the most furious restriction storms will burst off. Cecilia explained with a stern face. If we want to trick them, the first thing we must ensure is that the fiery earth mines won't go off before they come. Everything will be fine. Then I will improve the energy in the ground around here. It will not make the fiery earth mines explode by weight and vibration. Shiryen nodded. He stopped by the corner of the lake, placing the palm of his hand on the mud wall of the lake. Starlight sparkled as he sent his god power into the soil. Squinting, he used his soul consciousness to trace his energy, which slowly moved and extended underground. It created a layer of starlight that ordinary people couldn't observe when hiding several meters underground. He wasn't worried that Cecilia would attack him. Mia and Yuman knew that they were in the lake, and he had sealed the place now. Without his power, Cecilia would never be able to escape Mia and the others' besiege. With this precondition, Cecilia wouldn't disturb him, and she had to ensure his safety too. It happened as he had planned. Before Mia's team came, Cecilia could use her arrangement in this lake to bargain with Shiryen. If she blocked Shiryen or wounded him, she could run away easily and leave everything to Mia's team. That way, she could give Mo and the others an explanation. She couldn't do that now, so she could only stay with Shiryen and cooperate with him. The giant ape, the fighting eagle, the python, and the demonic dragons were beast phantoms that Baihao's group had created. They were patrolling the swamp. Although they were phantoms, they still had a certain weight, and they could attract fires, if any. However, when they walked around the lake, they didn't cause any commotion. Baihao's tense nerves were relaxed. He felt lucky that he had dodged a culpa, since those phantoms were connected directly with their souls. Once they were affected, Baihao's team would also be damaged. Baihao was prepared to receive a big attack, and now, seeing that their phantoms were all right, he was actually surprised and happy. Perhaps I thought too much. At this moment, even Yuman started to doubt his presumptions. If they don't have a member who can recognize things like Haig, perhaps they were just lingering here for a while, and they didn't set up any serious barriers and restrictions. The giant ape had come near the lake. If anything should happen, it would have happened already. Mia began to relax. She smiled and ordered Baihao, "You guys should go to the lake to check personally." She was still cautious. She was afraid that the phantoms couldn't check the area thoroughly, so she asked Baihao to go and check themselves. Baihao's group cursed her under their breath. However, they couldn't do anything but agree. They walked forward with a dark face, gingerly taking each step. It took them a while to reach the lake. Finally, they could exhale in relief. Yuman nodded and smiled. It shouldn't be any problem. We destroyed the control points of space around here. He can't escape any time soon. Mia smiled happily. Her beautiful eyes sparkled. She spoke through her gritted teeth. This time he must die. No doubt. She nodded to the warriors of the Fernandez family. Right after that, the warriors of the Fernandez family started to move under Yuman's and Mia's directions. They followed the trail that Bai Hao's group had taken. At a normal pace, they glided through the dangerous area and stood together with Bai Hao's team near the lake. Nothing happened. Everybody relaxed. They thought that they had just overthought. However, they didn't know that it was because someone had carefully prepared the earth-shaking danger in the center and it hadn't exploded yet. Right in the bottom of the lake, Yuman stood on the rock by the lake. He squinted and said in a cold voice they can't hide. Mia smiled and hesitated for a while. She talked to Bai Hao, forced them to come out. Mia, Yuman, and Bai Hao thought that Shiryen and Cecilia hadn't recognized that they had fallen into a deadly situation because they were busy with their romantic affair under the lake. Thinking like that, they felt relaxed. The four of Bai Hao's group glanced at each other. They nodded and sent their phantoms made of energy towards the lake and entered the lake. Here they come. When the giant ape, the fighting eagle, and the other two entered the lake, Cecilia hissed, her face sharp and savage. They're just shadows created by energy. They aren't worth our great explosion. We must make them use their real bodies. Shiryen was still calm. His god body moved inside the bubble and floated up to the surface. Looking at the four giant shadows slowly sinking, he grinned fiendishly. Give it to me. No, give it to me. Cecilia smiled and stopped him. She said, confidently, we are underwater. This place is the critical area that I've set up. I've cultivated water power, Upanishad. What do you say? Shiryen was surprised. He stopped moving and just watched with interest. Cecilia's pinky finger of the left hand rattled like the snake tail. A magical wave rippled through her bubble, intriguing something in the lake. A human head-sized bubble floated up. The energy in it burst out instantly, which gathered billions of cubic meters of water in the lake and created an animated water dragon. The water dragon was several hundred meters long. It looked lean but powerful as it continued to draw the torrential steam. It attacked the giant ape and the fighting eagle immediately. The lake surged fiercely. The water dragon rolled with Cecilia's full power. The water also attacked the phantoms Bai Hao had created. Cecilia squinted, her eyes glowing in a cold halo. The energy in her body moved like a murmuring stream and sent splashes everywhere as she was gathering the power inside the bubbles in the lake to send to her water dragon temporarily. The water dragon suddenly had an endless power that could tear the phantoms created by Bai Hao's group. Standing by the lake, Bai Hao's group discolored. Their soul altars were damaged severely. There's a B*TCH wreaking havoc there. Bai Hao shouted, his face ferocious. Get there and kill her. As the four warriors of the Bai family were enraged, they jumped into the lake directly and didn't wait for Mia's order. They wanted to use the energy of their real bodies to strike Cecilia to death. Ando, go help them. Mia frowned and pointed at a man. You've cultivated fire power, Upanishad. You burn and evaporate that water dragon and get their backs. An expert of the Fernandez family bowed to her and then jumped directly into the lake. Together with the four from Bai Hao's team, he drilled towards the bottom of the lake. What should we do? Cecilia's exposed skin looked like the water rippled. She looked like a woman made of flowing water. She now was beautiful in another marvelous way. Seeing Bai Hao's group of four and a warrior who cultivated fire power Upanishad, she hurried to ask for Shiryen's opinion. Do you want to kill them? Once you attack them, the traps we've set up in the lake will be triggered. We can kill 5 or 6 people, but it won't be dangerous anymore. Tell me, what should we do? 5 people. All are at third sky of ethereal god realm. So strong indeed. Shiryen squinted and considered. Cecilia, if you use your best power in this lake, how many warriors can you deal with? Without those barriers, I think I can deal with the expert from the god clan who cultivates fire power Upanishad. I guess I can gain the upper hand, but I won't be able to take care of more. Cecilia answered immediately. Oh, Shurian shook his head. He could only give up his thoughts. It seems like we can't stop them and attract more people to get into the lake. If it's so, we will attack curtly. You strike them right now. Okay. Cecilia's soft body released the tremendous energy fluctuations. She gave people a feeling of something deadly and dangerous. Bubbles rose from her eyes like the storm energy. Don't leave this bubble, or else you will be damaged too. While talking, the bubble they were staying inside lowered to the bottom of the lake and headed to a cave entrance, entering deep into the ground under the lake. While they entered deep into the ground under the lake, Cecilia continued to create a lot of hand seals. Wisps of soul consciousness were triggered. Her fingertips shot out rapid streams, soaring up to the surface of the lake above her head. The bubbles turned to the most furious energy storms. The crystal-clear lake was like a shattering mirror. It cracked strangely and then dissolved into many pieces while the water inside the lake exploded continuously. Even the mud wall of the lake was pressed until it burst off. The clear lake had turned into the most horrible hell in just a blink of an eye. By Hao's group of 4 and Ando of the God clan, who cultivated fire power Upanishad, hadn't recognized anything before their god bodies were dismembered. They burst and died. Even their soul altars were smashed and burned into ashes. The 5 warriors at third sky of ethereal god realm had perished both their souls and bodies without a scream. Even Mia's team by the lake was affected by the shock waves. They were blown away. Many of them gushed out blood, staggering and trying to steady themselves. Behind them was also the area where there were dense barriers and restrictions that Shurian had activated. Chapter 1130. Use the old trick again. Chapter 1130. Use the old trick again. _ The lake had been quiet and clear a moment ago. Now it was the purgatory on earth. It had swallowed by Hao's team and Ando, leaving nothing, not even a piece of bone. From the lake as the center, the surroundings looked like an image of the day of the apocalypse. Earth-shattering changes happened. Extremely destructive explosions arose from underground. Sharp spikes jetted from the ground. In the grumbling explosion, the ground shattered and also triggered more hidden restrictions. Many sharp spikes shot out, falling like rain. Those sharp spikes were gold and silver. They were smaller than the needles, but much sharper. They could enter the god body or soul altar easily. Many warriors of the Fernandez family had many bleeding holes on their bodies. Sizzle, sizzle. Strange noises echoed from the branches and leaves of the nearby trees. Significant bolts shot out, aimed at Mia and Yuman's team as if they had their own consciousness. The clouds of scorching fire emerged from the ground, floated up to the sky, and heavily pressed down above the Fernandez family's warriors. Dense sleet with icicles and bolts of lightning howled. Sharp spears jutted from the ground when the earth was splitting. All the restrictions were urged at the same time, giving the area around the lake the picture of the apocalypse. Mia, Yuman, and more than 10 warriors of the Fernandez family were so indignant. Almost all of them got hurt and had to use their god powers a lot. Their soul altars were also damaged in different levels. The restrictions that Mo Fo, Wu Feng, Sha Zhao, and Shang Yingyu had set up were really earth-shattering when they were activated. They were restrictions that they shouldn't be regretful of. Buzz, buzz, buzz. While the toxic insects were buzzing, a second sky of ethereal god realm warrior of the Fernandez family suddenly became dull and baffled. Mia's face was cold. She turned around to look at him. The flames of rage rolled in her heart. A gray cloud that looked like a shabby sheet of fabric fell on him. Under a melee of bolts of lightning, sharp spikes, and fire, he didn't notice that. He just used the light cage to protect his body. However, that gray, fabric-like thing was a cloud of tiny insects. Easily, those microscopic insects got through the light case and entered his head through his nostrils, eyes, ears and mouths. Black blood oozed out of the 7 holes on that man's face, giving him a shocking look that cracked people's nerves and courage. Even Mia felt her scalp tingling. She was sure that his soul altar had been nibbled and destroyed. He didn't even have the hope to resurrect later. Buzz, buzz, buzz. More gray insects flew out of the cracks in the ground or the trees. They moved in masses like fabric sheets in the air. The warriors of the Fernandez family had to avoid them like they were running away from ghosts. Ah! Shrieks and extremely terrible screams arose. More members of the Fernandez family got trapped. The restrictions had damaged their god bodies or eroded their soul altars. Those warriors had to drain their energy quickly to resist. They felt like their mentalities were going to collapse at any minute. Until this moment, they were sure that Shang Yingyu and Cecilia had plotted this before. They were surely well prepared to counter them. "Secure our formation," Mia called coldly. She urged her god blood to transform to the god undying body. Standing like a perfect transparent piece of art in this chaotic ruin, her god power circulated in her body like a stream of water, giving her a mysterious beauty. The lake in front of her had gradually calmed down after that earth-shattering commotion. However, the clear lake was now a murky pond with dirty water, blood, and even pieces of human flesh blending in, which nauseated people. The auras of Baihao Ando and the others had vanished in the filthy water so fast that it shocked Mia. She stood baffled for a while as she felt that it was so inexplicable. After the soul and the body of an ethereal god realm expert had been shattered, he was dead for sure. Even the god clan didn't know how to resurrect this kind of dead warrior. However, at this high level, after they had fallen, the powerful energy and the soul in their bodies wouldn't return to earth and heaven in just a blink of an eye. There was some kind of last process that took time, perhaps several minutes. However, in Mia's conception, Ando, Baihao, and the others were killed in just a blink. Their auras had also dissolved at an unimaginably fast speed after their bodies and souls perished. Mia thought that it was so strange, but she didn't linger much. She assumed that Ando and Baihao had died. That was why they had disappeared shortly after. Of course, she didn't know that there was a man under that murky lake excitingly taking all the scattering energy. Inside the bubble, Shi Yan stayed quiet as if he didn't know the horrible changes above his head or Cecilia get excited standing by him. He just stood still. Baihao, Ando, and the other 3 were experts at third sky of ethereal god realm. The essence chi scattered when they were killed instantly, and it was like wisps of smoke that the naked eye couldn't see. Shi Yan's acupuncture points quickly took it in. He had even let the black hole in his soul alter out to swallow thousands of soul wisps. Cecilia was restless at her spot as she was proud of this ambush. However, she felt something when she looked at Shi Yan. Usually it was almost unrecognizable to ordinary people when Shi Yan was taking in the essence chi. However, this time Cecilia stood too close to him. When she quieted down and sensed, she could feel the change of energy. Her beautiful face now had an awkward look when she eyed him suspiciously. The extremely turbulent restrictions bursting that had taken place above their heads wasn't finished yet. However, its power began to cease. The clear lake was now a muddy swamp. It didn't look fresh and beautiful anymore. Besides the 5 that died instantly in the lake, there were 3 killed by the restrictions out there. The other 9, including Mia, are wounded. Shi Yan's eyes brightened. He suggested suddenly, "You get out first and try to control the situation for a while. I want to capture you, man." "Try to control the situation?" Cecilia winced. "You cultivate water power, Upanishad. You just need to emerge above this muddle bog. You just need to separate Mia, and you, man, don't worry. I can capture you, man, really quickly. I won't let you fall into danger." Shi Yan's face was ice cold, his voice chilled. "Whatever you want me to help you with later, It costs your cooperation. I'm giving you an opportunity now. It's you who decides whether to take the chance or not." Cecilia was shaken. Her charming face became strong. "Okay, deal." Because of the terrible explosion in the lake, all the restrictions there were gone. Cecilia urged her energy and swayed like a beautiful Nagini in the water, riding the current to travel to the murky surface. She emerged directly above the lake, which was now a pond of mud. She smiled sweetly, her face mocking Mia, Yuman, and the others who were still ducking the attacks. She said deliberately, "Well, my restrictions are interesting, right? We will slowly repay what you've treated us throughout the recent 5 years. It's just the beginning. More fun is awaiting you." This was a naked provocation. Mia's beautiful eyes became cold and sinister. She gazed at Cecilia, shouting indignantly, "Where is he? He has the guts to ambush us, but not the balls to show himself? Well, when you guys were killed disgustingly, we were—" Cecilia's charming face blushed as she pretended to be embarrassed. "You know, right? Listening to your shrieks and screeches, you don't know how excited we were. Mwahahaha. Lowly be *TCH. Mia was so angry that her body shivered. She couldn't help but shout, "Kill her! Kill her now! Kill that be *TCH for me." All the fatal restrictions around them had completed their functions. The warriors of the Fernandez family were exhausted mentally and physically. Their souls and bodies were affected differently. They had to find something to vent out their anger on. Cecilia is what they needed now. Mia had ordered the members of the Fernandez family and made them burst out with murderous auras and bloodthirsty desires. They all stormed toward Cecilia. The brutally wild air currents rose like evil dragons. Cecilia changed her visage. She felt her power pressed by these air currents. She didn't think much and immediately went into the muddy lake. She gathered energy and sent twirling muddy tornadoes that swept through the area. "Watch out!" Mia shouted as she recalled something. Yuman rose his arm and made a gesture to ask people to halt. Electric beams from his fingertips stormed into the swamp. After a while, he told them the lake is safe. Hearing him, the Fernandez warriors didn't hesitate. Many ethereal extents were activated. Grand mountains stormed out and grumblingly pressed down on the muddy swamp. Instantaneously, strange powers of earth and sky were urged. Explosions reverberated in the lake again. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. The terrifying hissing arose. 3-bone thorns appeared abruptly and assaulted Yuman. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. The scorching flame created a sea of fire that snatched over Yuman. Flows of earth and heaven energy rolled fiercely. They spread and swarmed as if someone was controlling them. Also, they were pressing down on Yuman. A massive scorpion created by starlight twinkled in the horizon. It swung its tail and stormed towards Yuman. Sure, Yen urged his powers Upanishads without any hesitation. Space and star power Upanishads together with the heaven flame, the soul energy and the co-soul had gathered emerged in just a blink. They all aimed at Yuman and left him no space or strength to resist. In fact, Yuman felt overwhelmed when many attacks were aimed at him at once. He didn't know what to do to defend. Boom! Just like the vast ocean pressing on him, Yuman's skeleton echoed of cracking sounds. His face was also deformed under the pressure, his energy chaotic. Sure, Yen appeared like a ghost, right behind Yuman. Just like when he assaulted Phelps, he stabbed one thorn in Yuman's abdomen and another one in his heart. Looking at Mia coldly, sure Yen was nonchalant. "You know what I want." Chapter 1131. Achieve his desire. Chapter 1131. Achieve his desire, _ You know what I want. After capturing Yuman, Shi Yan looked natural and calm. He quietly eyed Mia, a cold smile hanging on the corner of his mouth. As the Fernandez warriors were striking the muddy lake, they halted, their faces dark, cold, and indignant. All gazed at Yen. Rumble. A rapid current arose. Cecilia stood atop the water current. The fear on her face had vanished. She giggled and gently swayed her delicate waist as she descended by Yen. The Fernandez warriors didn't dare to act rashly, their complexion begrudging. Mia's exquisite face twisted. Cold resentment sparkled in her eyes. She took a deep breath, forcing herself to calm down. She gestured to the other members of the Fernandez family. Everybody quieted down, scattering as they saw her gesture. Instantly, they circled Yen and Cecilia in layers. Lady Mia, don't mind whether I die or not. Please kill him. Yuman's eyes were distressed and sorrowful. His abdomen was bleeding, but he didn't look fearful. He said calmly, "He's much more dangerous than anybody else. If he's alive, he will affect the great plan of our clan." Yuman could feel the significant risk from Yen. When the 3 bone thorns appeared, he had been cautious enough to gather the energy of his body. However, the fierce attacks from Yen's formidable 3 powers had struck him. He couldn't bear that, and Yen got him in the end. When the bone thorns stabbed into his soft abdomen, Yuman felt so cold. He was frightened. He began to observe Yen's power. He figured out that Yen was a time bomb, and he didn't know when it would explode in this swamp. He was so intimidating with space power Upanishad and tremendous competence. He now understood Phelps's feelings at that time. He knew that it wasn't because Phelps was useless. His opponent was too strong. "I don't know what you want. Can you make it a little clearer?" Mia didn't look at Yuman or listen to him. She just glared at Yen while thoughts rolled in her head as she thought about how to deal with this tough challenge. Swoosh! The bone thorn stabbing in Yuman stirred from time to time. Blood splashed from the cut, dyeing the grass in front of him blood red. Yuman's face winced in horrible pain. He clenched his jaw, trying to endure and not to scream. However, the elegant features of his middle-aged face had gone. He looked ashen now. Evidently, his wound was really terrible. Yen looked deliberate even though he was busy. He studied Mia, his face wearing a cold smile. "I know that the God Clan has an amazing self-recovery ability. You can heal your wounds fast, but the pain is something you can never control, right? Can you feel the pain?" He grinned. Another bone thorn appeared. He grabbed it and thrust it into Yuman's leg and then slowly moved it all together with the other 2. Yuman couldn't endure it anymore. He cried crazily and crouched. His leg now had a bleeding cut that was deep to his bone that made people jolted up when they saw it. Many warriors of the Fernandez family felt chilled. They were scared as if they had to endure such terrifying torment. Some didn't even dare to watch. They turned away as they didn't want to see Yuman wailing in pain. Blood splashed. Some drops of blood splattered on Cecilia's clothes, creating the crimson flowers. Cecilia looked at it in disgust. She hurried to step backward and stood behind Yen. Now, she had to look at Yen with a complicated complexion. Too sinister and savage indeed. Cecilia screamed inwardly. She had made up her mind. If she had to fight Yen, she would rather let him kill her instantly than fall into his hands. This man didn't seem to have human emotions. "Wait, I'll hand it to you." Mia gritted her white teeth. Colors faded in her exquisite face. She didn't want to linger and let Yuman suffer from more torture. She touched a green ring on her finger. A shining light flashed. A beautiful crystal emerged with a peculiar smiling woman flower inside. The crystal floated and flew toward Yen slowly, releasing the demonic aura. People could feel its powerful energy. Cecilia's pretty eyes brightened. She eyed the 7-colored demonic flower and squinted to sense. Before the flower had arrived, she said, "This flower is real." The aura is just right, and the energy fluctuation matches. It should be real. I won't joke about this on my Uncle Yuman's life. Mia hissed coldly. Hurry and release him. Shi Yan rose his hand and waved, using his energy to drive the crystal and putting it into his fantasy sky ring. Then he grinned. Wait for a moment. We must get out of this area first. If we linger, you will kill us immediately, won't you? The deaths and wounds that Mia and the Fernandez family's warriors had to bear came from the restrictions and the secret treasures that Mo Feng, Xiaozhao Wufeng, and Shang Yingyu had left. Although they weren't related directly to him, he knew how dominant Mia's team was. He knew that when Mia alone troubled him, he wouldn't have a chance to run away. At the same time, Cecilia wasn't strong enough to deal with the other warriors. If they were besieged, Cecilia and Shi Yan wouldn't be able to escape quickly, which only left them with the road of death. Mia didn't say more. With a dark face, she waved at her warriors. Those people knew what to do. They proactively stepped aside to give way to Shi Yan and Cecilia. Shi Yan was still holding Yuman, under the murderous look of Mia's team. They walked out of the area at a normal pace. After Shi Yan found that the space nodes outside were normal, he nodded to Cecilia. Cecilia came close to him and hooked her left hand on his elbow. She was smiling and being happy. Hey Mia, we have to go now. I'm looking forward to meeting you guys again, teased Cecilia. You will all die. I'm sure you will all die, snarled Mia coldly. Shi Yan halted, but he didn't release Yuman. He just furrowed his brows at Mia. I want to ask you one thing. Has the Fernandez family joined hands with the Ascot family to invade Agate Star area? Mia startled. She nodded without much concern. Yeah, it's true. Plus the Bai family. We've joined hands to swallow Agate Star area. We've already discussed the shares. The Ascot family will lead this operation. The Bai family will just cooperate with the Ascot family. What does it matter to you? She got it when she saw the change of Shi Yan's countenance. You're from Agate Star area. The Bai family, the Ascot family, the Fernandez family. Good then. Shi Yan muttered and grinned fiendishly at Mia. I will eat you up. I will eat the people of these three families, one by one on this ancient continent. I will make your three forces bury your bodies in this ancient continent. First, I will take a small price from your warriors. Crack, crack. Yuman's skeleton was broken. His vein exploded directly. Blood gushed out from his body while his old face winced in a pain of the cutting flesh torment. Here, take your warrior. Shi Yan grinned. It's no problem for him to recover fully later. I know how strong your god, Undying Body, is. It will just take him some time. He will be alive in the end. It's not against what I've agreed to you. Help yourself. Shi Yan let off Yuman. The man sagged down like a puddle on the ground. Shi Yan took Cecilia jumping into a space slit he had torn behind them. They disappeared shortly after. I will kill you. I swear I will kill you. Mia shouted like crazy. She dashed to Yuman, looking at his shattered body. She didn't hesitate to take out many fragranced aromas and crystal pellets in her fantasy sky ring. She shoved them into Yuman's mouth and urged him, Stay with us. Uncle Yuman, you must resist it. Dissolve the medicinal efficacy of those pellets to recover quickly. Yuman had a lot of blood on his face. He even had bubbles of blood on the corners of his mouth. He looked terrible and seemed to be dying. While Mia was crying and encouraging him, he strenuously urged his energy to circulate and absorb the pellets. The survivors of the Fernandez family gritted their teeth indignantly while looking at Yuman. They looked darkly sinister at this moment. They vowed to stab Shi Yan thousands of times, so he wouldn't have a decent death. Ah, splash! Shi Yan and Cecilia fell into a pond, which was really far from Yuman and Mia. They couldn't come here in just a short time. Cecilia still gripped Shi Yan's arm, which made her generous breast stuck on his arm. This warm weight would have made people's blood boil. Her beautiful thighs moved for a while, and she emerged from the pond. Looking at Shiryen, she smiled charmingly. "Good brother, I've helped you get what you want. Shouldn't you agree with me to help me get what I want?" Her beautiful face wore a tender smile, her eyes filled with hope. "Let's talk about it later." Sure, Yin coldly sprang from her grip. He frowned. "Mia's core team is still here. Phelps's team is also all right. The newcomers are even stronger. I'm not sure if we can survive in the swamp until the center opens or not. Even if we talk more, it's just talking about things in vain. It's a waste of time and effort." Cecilia discolored. She eyed Shiryen for a while and couldn't help but curse this bastard for his harshness. But she couldn't do anything to him. "Where's Mo Feng's group? Shouldn't we gather with them now?" She pondered for a while and tried to press down her anger. "You can leave first. I want to cultivate for a while. I don't like you staying and disturbing me." Shiryen talked indifferently. Pointing in a direction, he said deliberately, "Go this way. After 1 hour, you will see Mo Feng's team." Cecilia felt chilled. She looked skeptical in the direction he had just pointed out. She said unnaturally, "I should go with you. I can guard you when you cultivate." "Haven't I made it clear? When I cultivate, I don't want people to bother me," frowned Shiryen. Cecilia was so angry. She gently regarded the 18 generations of Shiryen's family. With a gingerly face, she watched her surroundings along her way as she was afraid that Shiryen had shown her the way to death. Chapter 1132. Who is the Backbone? Chapter 1132. Who is the Backbone? _ As soon as Cecilia left, Shiryen glided around the place to set up some small restrictions. Right after that, he found a lush, ancient tree and went inside the tree. Closing his eyes, he circulated his energy and adjusted the energy in his acupuncture points, making himself sober. Shiryen had taken in the essence chi of Ando, who was part of Baihao's team killed and was in the lake, and the warriors of the Fernandez family, who were killed by the restrictions of Mo Fo, Sha Zhao, Shang Yingyu. He was filtering and refining that kind of energy in his acupuncture points. This flow of essence chi was too abundant to him. During the filtering process, it was going to put him into the chaotic mental state. Of course, he wouldn't let Cecilia watch it. After he had refined the brilliant starfruit tree to break through to second sky of ethereal god realm, the essence chi ancient tree in his body had grown tremendously, increasing the amount of room to store more god power. The essence chi from Ando, Baihao, and the others were enough to satisfy him. They had filled his essence chi ancient tree, which made his god power brimming and refined. Perhaps he could reach the upper limit of his second sky of ethereal god realm. It also facilitated him to put more effort in understanding Power's Upanishad. Inside the big tree, he quieted down and waited for the energy in his body to be refined. Inside a small forest with grass reaching their waist, Mo Fo, Sha Zhao, the Wu brothers, Shang Yingyu, and Jiao Shan were scattering and creating a vague circle. They were using the divine crystals to refill energy. They also knew the free time they got to rest was precious, because they might not have free time to recover when another big war consumed them. Perhaps they had to fight until they died. Thus, as soon as they got time, they had to recover their energy first, so they could be in their best condition all the time to resist the possible dangers. It was because they were cautious that they could live longer than the others who were killed already. Mo Fo, Wu Feng, and Shang Yingyu had recovered first. The divine crystals in their hands exploded and turned into chips of rock that scattered. Wu Feng frowned and looked at Shang Yingyu. "What kind of man is that guy?" Mo Fo also looked at Shiryen, his face solemn. "His presence matters to our lives, all of us. We want to know more about him. Please give us the details." As Shiryen's soul consciousness wasn't shackled by the ancient continent, he could be their eyes to help them locate the enemies or escape the besiege. His role was crucial indeed. Strictly speaking, Their lives were dependent on Shi Yan. If Shi Yan wanted to trick them, Phelps's and Mia's teams could find them and kill them quickly. Mo Fo and Wu Feng were the leaders of their families. They didn't like the feeling of being dependent on someone else. They were also afraid that Shi Yan's wrong assumption would lead them to a fatal consequence. Thus, they were all cautious. I don't actually know him. Shang Yingyu's clear and cold eyes twinkled, her long eyelashes batting. He got the guiding fruit from my father. Because of this, I hated him a lot before we got to the ancient continent. Shang Yingyu merely narrated how she met Shi Yan. Pausing for a while, she added, "That man is cruel and heartless. He only cares about himself. He won't bat an eye on people's lives. In other words, if we are no help to him in resisting the God clan, and if he can escape without counting on us, he will not care about our lives." Mo Fo and Wu Feng changed their visage. "Someone is coming." Sha Zhao stood up, the dark green light in his eyes rippling. He seemed to use the toxic insects to sense something. A moment later, Sha Zhao exhaled and said, "It's Cecilia." People relaxed. However, right after that, they changed their faces as they suddenly remembered something. Mo Fo screamed, "Where's Shi Yan? Did you sense him?" Sha Zhao shook his head, his face complicated. "No, only Cecilia." The warriors who were sitting to cultivate all jolted up, their faces grimaced. "What's good if Cecilia can come back? If he isn't here, we are blind. How can we resist the God clan?" Wu Feng said gloomily and coldly. They all nodded in agreement. In their mind, Shi Yan's life was much important than Cecilia's. "Something unexpected happened to him?" asked a warrior. People's faces darkened. Mo Fo snorted and said coldly, "Cecilia is really trash. She can come back, and she didn't bring him with her." People nodded again. Who said, "I'm just trash"? Right at this moment, Cecilia's voice came. Her face was frosty as she scanned through them. They were all studying her with cold eyes. Cecilia felt so indignant. She couldn't help but cry. "Don't you feel shameful? While I risked my life with Mia's team, you guys were staying here and recovering your powers in peace. I'm back and I have to endure your mocking? Where's Shi Yan? Where is he? Why did he not come back with you? Is it because of you that he got hurt or something unexpected happened?" No one minded Cecilia's rage. They just wanted to know where Shi Yan was. They wanted to confirm his status first. Cecilia looked at each of them and felt so helpless. She now recognized that she had no means to compete with Shi Yan. She had nothing to bargain with him like he had mentioned. If Shi Yan wanted her to die, he didn't need to do that himself. He just needed to tell Mo Fo and Wu Feng. She immediately felt dispirited. She didn't nag more. He's all right. He just wanted to cultivate alone for a while. He said he would catch up with us later. Hearing her, people exhaled in relief. Their tense nerves were relaxed. Then they asked to know if she was okay. They clamorously asked her what had happened and whether or not their restrictions had worked. They wanted to know if their death traps had damaged Mia's team badly. The 4 warriors of the Bai family were dead. I gave them an instant kill in the lake together with a warrior of the Fernandez family who cultivated fire power Upanishad at third sky of ethereal god realm, said Cecilia arrogantly. Everybody was astounded. Shang Yingyu was so excited. She balled her fists, her soft body shivering. She had a deep grudge against Bai Hao's team. She always wanted to eliminate the Bai warriors. As she heard that the 4 warriors of the Bai family were killed, she couldn't hide her joy. The dark cloud in her mind was also swept away. The restrictions you guys set up had damaged all of them. It seems like 3 or 4 were killed. Mia's team had a significant loss this time, continued Cecilia. People grinned and laughed. They cheered happily. Throughout 5 years, they had been running helter-skelter all the time. They had been in a bad situation and had never given Phelps and Mia any damage. To them, this was a rare triumph that gave them a gentle pat of encouragement on their shoulder. Well, Shi Yan had especially captured Yuman to ask for the 7-colored demonic flower from Mia. He had wounded Yuman severely too, Cecilia smiled and added. Awesome. He could use the old trick again. Excellent. How could he capture the key person every time? Psychopath. Everybody praised this battle. They were so excited as if they had won this battle personally. Cecilia made a forced smile. She understood that only Shi Yan was important in this event and that only he would be able to guide people to the exit alive. No matter how significant her merit was, no one had ever noticed. In other words, she couldn't be like Shi Yan and become their eye. Thus, she couldn't get such treatment. Until this moment, Cecilia had woken up. If she got Shi Yan's support in this team, she could do anything she wanted on this team. It wouldn't be hard, though. She pondered, and strange light glowing in her eyes. She seemed to have new ideas. The ground had many holes, and the lake was turbid. Mia's team was watching Yuman carefully. Yuman had swallowed a large number of pellets. After a long time to digest them, his breathing had been steadied. The open wounds in his body were closed. He was sound asleep now. At this speed, Yuman's body was secure. If he didn't need to work strenuously for the next several years, he wouldn't bear any adverse consequence. Mia exhaled in relief. She took out the divine crystals to recover her energy. The other warriors of the Fernandez family also sat by Yuman to refill energy. After an unknown time, Mia opened her eyes and gave a snort. Shadows emerged from a further distance. Haig and Phelps were approaching. They looked at her with an odd countenance. Observing the surroundings, their faces were getting solemn. Phelps looked at Yuman and some headstones far from them. He grinned coldly, his face showing a gleam of satisfaction. Haig snorted. Phelps shut his smile, his face scared. He didn't keep that mocking countenance and became more cautious. What happened? Haig frowned and looked at Mia. I felt the energy of a fierce battle here. The energy surged terribly. There were just 2 of them, and they could give you a lot of damages like this. They'd arranged everything. They had set up a lot of restrictions and mines here. Mia bit her lower lips and stared at Haig. Your news wasn't wrong. That brat stayed in the lake with a woman. But you didn't tell us they had installed the restrictions. Haig was surprised and said awkwardly, I don't have much energy to watch them in every second, but there were just 2 of them. Couldn't you finish them? He cultivates space power, Upanishad. Mia reminded him in a cold voice. If he wanted to leave, we wouldn't be able to hold him down. In short, he's adamant to deal with. Haig frowned and shook his head. It shouldn't be like that. Chapter 1133. Predestined Mortal Enemy. Chapter 1133. Predestined Mortal Enemy. Undersir. Before you got there, didn't you seal the space first? Mia, you're not acting consistently. You would never be that reckless. I know you well. Haig looked at her, and Yuman, who was as pale as a sheet of white paper. What happened after all? He kept Yuman hostage. Mia sighed all of a sudden. He has only second sky of ethereal god realm, but he could approach Yuman in just a blink of an eye. He had suppressed Yuman's god power and captured him. I couldn't accept that fact either. Hearing the word hostage, Phelps grimaced. He snorted and then said, that man is wicked. He seems to be able to summon the earth and heaven energy in this area. It's hard to prevent it, though. I was beaten because of this. He could urge earth and heaven energy in this place. Haig's voice went sharper. Instantly, his face became odd and dark, like an icy sword stabbing Phelps. Tell me in detail. Phelps and Mia were frightened. I told you to clarify. Haig had a gleam of brutality in between his 2 brows. His voice was so chilled that it could even freeze people's bones. He can use the earth and heaven energy here. I'm sure about that. Phelps hurried to speak. I was pressed by the earth and heaven energy, and I almost suffocated. What was attacked the same way? It's true. Phelps blabbered. He was filled with suspicion since he didn't know why Haig suddenly cared about this. However, he didn't dare to go against Haig. Haig was the future heir of the Bradley family. He was appointed. Many elders of the God clan had approved him. They all agreed and treated him as the future leader of the God clan. Whether it was his state or position, he was much stronger than Phelps. Thus, Phelps knew what to do. Our young master told the truth. That man can summon earth and heaven energy. When I came to rescue my young master, I was bounced back by the earth and heaven energy. I'm sure it's completely true, What also said. Haig fell in silence. Peyton stood by him, looking absorbed in his thoughts. He seemed to guess something. His face changed as he was startled. He whispered, "Young master, is it possible?" Mia and Phelps were puzzled. They looked at Haig and guessed inwardly the reason why he became that odd. They knew that Haig rarely became anxious or restless. He was always placid and harsh. He would never be frightened by something trivial. They contemplated and recognized that Haig had figured something out. They became even more curious. "I'm not sure, but it's possible." Haig looked at the terrible ground and frowned. He continued coldly, "If they could set up the ambush that was activated when you guys arrived, it wouldn't be just a coincidence." Mia looked at him in surprise. "What do you mean?" "Does he use the flaming power?" Haig asked instead of giving an answer. "Yes." A member of the Fernandez family screamed immediately. "When he attacked you, man, I saw clearly that he used a fire sea and covered you, man, directly." Haig discolored slightly. He was more certain with what he had in his mind. He nodded and said, "I have an assumption." Phelps, Mia, what? And the others focused on Haig, waiting to hear his assumption. They were all stern as they knew what Haig was about to tell them that was really critical. "He's like me. His soul consciousness isn't bound in this place. He can see the tiny commotion in the swamp." Haig looked at Mia and took a deep breath. He said, "He must have known your direction and route. He had predicted and installed the restriction to give you a terrible ambush." Phelps, Mia, and the others changed their visages dramatically. They couldn't believe what Haig had told them and just watched him in astonishment. They knew what it meant. Haig was the heir of the Bradley family, and he had the origin of the ancient god star, the ancestral planet of the God clan. With the favor from God, he decided to use Desolate as the bait to eliminate the talented seeds of the other star areas. He wanted to catch all of them by throwing one net. The reasons why Haig was so confident were because of the intimidation of the God clan and his advantages in the ancient continent. Only the warriors with the origin of the ancient continent wouldn't be bound on Desolate. They could precisely locate the enemies and gather the thick earth and heaven energy. This kind of warrior in the ancient continent was the existence that went against natural orders. Haig thought that the heaven had favored only him. Mia and Phelps thought the same. Now, they knew that it wasn't like that. They couldn't help but feel heavy-hearted. "Haig, are you sure? If that man has such superpowers like you, will your plan succeed in the end?" asked Phelps worriedly. Haig's face was dark and cold. He said, "Well, let's check it out." Then he sat down cross-legged and touched his glabella. A shining silver flame flew out of his pupils, spinning, which was pretty similar to Sher Yan's Kosal. Haig urged his power Upanishad right in front of everybody. He released his soul consciousness, extending rapidly. Life energy fluctuations in the areas where his soul consciousness passed would be reflected in his mind. He seemed to have thousands of eyes that helped him observe the swamp. It searched every tiny corner and didn't miss a life. Phelps, Mia, Peyton, and the members of the God clan all wore heavy countenances while looking at Haig and waiting quietly. After a while, Haig's eyes brightened. In a very far distance, Shi Yan was sitting cross-legged on a rock, his face ferocious, while murderous aura soared up into the sky. His eyes were filled with brutal, wild, bloodthirsty, and sinister intents. He was like a roaring beast showing its powers and domineering aura. Flows of negative emotions flooded his heart, puzzling his consciousness. His soul gradually entered a manic state that left him with only negative and murderous thoughts. However, the co-soul floating behind his back was like a flame, and it wasn't affected by his host soul. An icy aura emitted from the poison-dipped cold bead in his ethereal extent. It felt like a bucket of cold water was poured on the head on a scorching summer day. Shi Yan's hot-tempered state was cooled down quickly. Shi Yan suddenly felt like someone was peeping on him. He opened his eyes, his indifferent look gazing on the horizon. A wisp of soul consciousness shot out. Sizzle, sizzle, sizzle. Lightning flowers exploded above his head up in the sky, as if two lightning bolts had collided and released fierce, soul consciousness fluctuations. His body shook for a while. A drilling pain shot in his brain when his wisp of soul consciousness with space power was smashed. It also hurt his soul. Lifting his head, looking at the nothingness, Shi Yan's face became so stern. Flows of soul consciousness were condensed, as sharp as needles. They directly stabbed the sky above his head. Boom! Boom! Beams of lightning appeared inside the clouds. Lightning strikes flashed and crushed all gray clouds. Shi Yan had released his flows of soul consciousness to strike the same sharp needles or spears hiding in the clouds. They both shattered at that moment. His soul altar shivered for a while when his sea of consciousness was stirred up and his ethereal extent felt like it got stabbed. All gave him head-splitting pain. It was a battle between souls. I am Haig. A cold wisp of soul consciousness appeared above his head. I know where you are. I'll find you and kill you. Wait for me. Mwahahaha. Shi Yan's face became dark, malicious, and he grimaced. He lifted his head to look at the sky, but he still sat quietly. Shi Yan was startled. A smile of awe appeared on his face. After a while, beams of pure energy, circulating in his acupuncture points, fiercely overflowed his essence, Qi ancient tree. His power was boosted immediately. The strange aura that had appeared above his head vanished. On the other side, Haig's body had shaken several times. He suddenly gave a sinister smile. Phelps, Mia, and Peyton were waiting for his response. They all felt a little anxious. We're correct. He's like me. We both have the origin of the ancient continent. Haig sounded excited. Marvelous. Excellent. He's like me. He isn't shackled by Desolate's restriction. He can also mobilize earth and heaven energy. He has fused with the origin. Interesting. Too good for me. His face resumed a stern appearance as he talked in a low-pitched voice. I will kill him and take his origin. I will use him to complete me. He will be my biggest harvest on this trip. Haha, no one can rival me. This is my destiny. Phelps, Mia, and the others were shocked. They gasped. There are a lot of strange things in this vast universe, indeed. Someone like you has the origin of the ancient continent, and you are about to meet him in Desolate. Perhaps it's predestined in the unseen world that you guys need to fight to see who will win, said Mia deliberately. Do you think he can beat me? Grinned Haig. Mia and Phelps contemplated. They nodded in agreement and then spoke in unison. Indeed, he can't resist you. What and Peyton also smiled. In their eyes, Shi Yan, the warrior Haig had laid his eyes on, was already dead. I want this person's life. Haig pondered for a while and then spoke to Mia and Phelps. If you guys are well rested, we should depart now. I can't wait longer. From now on, we can't relax because Shi Yan also knows our whereabouts. We know what to do, Phelps nodded. Then we should move now, Haig decided. The warriors of the three great families, including the Bradleys, the Fernandez, and the Askets, became busy after receiving his orders. They headed to the area he had pointed out. Chapter 1134 Great Responsibility. Chapter 1134 Great Responsibility _ Shi Yan stood up, lifting his head to look at the empty horizon. He closed his eyes to sense for a while. Taking a deep breath, he dashed towards the area where Mo Fo, Shangyu, and the others were gathering. The essence qi of Bai Hao's group and Ando was filtered and refined. All were poured into his essence qi ancient tree. After this kind of energy was treated, it could bring him massive benefits. However, it wasn't enough to fill his essence qi ancient tree to the upper limit of second sky of ethereal god realm. After entering the new realm, he had recognized that the realm required doubled the amount of energy and understanding of the realm. There wasn't even 1/10 of the essence qi of Bai Hao's team and Ando after being filtered and refined. The production loss of this refining process was extremely astonishing. The amount given couldn't make him reach the peak of his second sky of ethereal god realm yet. While dashing fast, Shi Yan's face was heavy as he furrowed his brows. The god-man, called Haig, made him feel threatened. Just like him, this man wasn't bound on this ancient continent. He could also use the immense energy of earth and heaven on this planet, and his realm was one level higher than Shi Yan's. He was at the peak of third sky of ethereal god realm. He tried to sense for a while and found that the intensity of Haig's body energy had surpassed the warrior at the ordinary first sky of incipient god realm. He seemed to have more secret energy fluctuations. This man had a profound realm assisted by tremendous energy accumulation. He could transform to the god undying body too. From any aspect, this man wasn't very different from Shi Yan. He made Shi Yan feel insecure, and he was his mortal enemy. At the same time, Mia and Phelps had to listen to Haig in this ancient continent, giving him absolute advantages. Haig's arrogant laughter still lingered in his ears and made Shi Yan grimace. He could clearly feel that the three forces of Haig, Phelps, and Mia had diverged. Like three currents of a flood, they were heading towards Shi Yan and Mo Fo's team, forming besieges to block them. It made Shi Yan more restlessly anxious. Swish! Gliding like a lightning strike above the swamp, Shi Yan suddenly appeared in front of Mo Fo, Shangyu, and Cecilia. Mo Fo and the others were running away. Seeing him, they were all happy, smiling and appraising him for the excellent play. Awesome! We cost Mia's team a big price this time. We've been fighting them for a long time in the swamp, but we have never caused them such a big loss. Is it true that you can capture people that easily? Phelps couldn't dodge you, and even you man at third sky of ethereal god realm couldn't. So if you want, you can subdue Mia, right? With you on our side, we can make it to the day when the center will be unsealed. I'm suddenly confident now. Mo Fo, Wu Feng, Jiao Shan, and the others were so excited as if they had won the battle themselves. Seeing him arrive, they started to clamor. Even Shangyu now had a rare weak smile on her face. She was happy indeed. She thought that it was Shi Yan's merit to kill the Bai family soldiers. She assumed that Cecilia was just his assistant and that she wasn't really useful. Their praising stopped shortly after because they all saw his weird face. Since he had arrived, he had put on a dark, frowning face. What happened? Cecilia was calm as she asked, "You don't look cheered up at all. You have the 7-colored demonic flower. You've cultivated 2. You've damaged Mia's team badly. What makes you uncomfortable?" The others were also confused. "Do you know a guy named Haig?" He suddenly asked as he thought that Mo Fo, Cecilia, Wu Feng were the outstanding talents of the big star areas, so they had to be familiar with those domineering future leaders of the God Clan. They must know this strong expert. Indeed, when he said that name, everybody quieted down, their faces getting stern. Why did you mention him all of a sudden? Asked a mofo, his face unnatural. I used to tell you guys that the new force entering the swamp has a man like me. He isn't bound by the ancient continent. His soul consciousness can sense the little commotions, and he can gather earth and heaven energy. Pausing for a while, he said seriously, Today I've confirmed that Haig is that person. Everybody wore a dark face. Their eyes seemed to be covered by a layer of a dark cloud. Cecilia explained, I should have guessed that it was him early on. He's the heir of the Bradley family, the biggest family of the God clan. He's the leader appointed by the elders of the God clan. He's the brightest star of the new generation. As Cecilia was talking, people became heavy-hearted. They felt like they had a heavy rock placing on their chests that suffocated them. Looking at the fear on Mo Fo's face, the stern visage of Wu Feng, and the restless appearance of the others, Shi Yan changed his face slightly. Without further explanation, he knew how intimidating Haig was. Haig isn't like most of the other young members of the God clan. This man is calm, heartless, and really smart. His fighting experiences are various, though. Cecilia rubbed her temples as if she had a headache. The Bradley family had exiled him to the most chaotic and dangerous star area, where he had to seek for life in perilous situations. He had created miracles and great benefits for the Bradley family. Not only does he have a domineering personal competence, he was also good at commanding legions. He prioritizes benefits over anything else. He doesn't have a clear weakness. He doesn't like women too. In his eyes, women are just some sort of tools he can use and advantages he can take for granted, added Shang Yingyu in a cold voice. This man is the toughest warrior of the current generation of the God clan. Almost all of his opponents were killed, said Wu Feng with a cold face. While they were giving him information, Shi Yan's face became more grimaced. After they finished, he took a deep breath and then said, I'm giving you bad news. He found out that I can use the soul consciousness like him. He has challenged me. Right now, he, Phelps, and Mia are diverging in 3 directions. They are heading towards us. All of them discolored, and their hearts sank into the abyss. They felt begrudging, as if they couldn't escape the cage. We should run quickly, Jiao Shan shouted. Pouting his lips, Shi Yan eyed him with mocking eyes. Run? Run where? There are 4 directions, east, west, north, and south. Phelps, Mia, and Haig are heading to us from the east, west, and south. North of us is the barrier that connects to another piece of territory. Tell me where to run. Perhaps we should head to Mia. Mia's team is damaged. Perhaps we can defeat her team? Said Cecilia. Haig has prepared her. Shi Yan looked at her and said faintly, he has strengthened her team with more experts. Now, Mia's team can beat us up easily. Phelps's team has never been damaged, so we aren't their opponent. And Haig's team, it's impossible, muttered Mo Fo, his face solemn. So, we have only one choice, which is heading north. Let's see if we can drill through the barrier to get to the other territory to dodge this sharp spear. If the warriors like us are all killed by a troop of the God clan in that new territory, what should we do? Frowned Wu Feng. Everybody fell into silence. As things came to this, they knew the God clan's conspiracy. What Wu Feng said could be true. In the new territory they wanted to go through, there might be a strong God clan troop, which had cleared all the warriors there and was waiting by the border. If they got through the barrier, they would be killed shortly after. Shi Yan, can you sense the commotions in that territory? Asked Shang Yingyu all of a sudden. I can't. It has the barrier. I have to get inside to sense the commotion of living beings there. Shi Yan shook his head. What should we do? What to do now? Which way to choose? Everybody was restlessly anxious because they knew that Mia, Phelps, and Haig were getting closer every minute they'd lingered here. This kind of pressure made them restless. They were on the edge of collapsing. Shi Yan looked at them and felt anxious. He knew that he must come up with a direction. Whether it was correct or not, at least they would have a target that wouldn't make them wait for death passively. Head north. We're going to that barrier. We have to make this bet. Sure, Yen ordered resolutely. Staying in this swamp, one of the other 3 teams will get us and slowly kill us. As Haig is with them, we can't hide. We don't have any hope to live. We must get there. Everybody else was flustered at the moment. They thought that only Sure Yen could give them guidance. Thus, no one opposed his idea. They nodded in agreement. Sure Yen didn't talk more. He led the group and moved. Follow me. Use your god power. We must rush. Just like sharp swords, they followed Sure Yen and flew north of the swamp. When they departed, Haig was talking to Phelps and Mia to show them the way. He had them updated with their location every minute. Young master, they're heading to the thick woods. If nothing's unexpected, it's where Yu Jia is in charge, reminded Peyton. Although Yu Jia is also arrogant and self-righteous, he has the competence. I guess he has finished clearing his area. Haig pondered and frowned, but we still need to clarify a little bit. I will ask him to get to the barrier and wait for the praise. We're going to give them a beating. Excellent, said Peyton in excitement. Haig took out the soundstone, checking and then talking directly. Yu Jia, it's me, Haig. I'm in the swamp territory with Phelps and Mia. Some fish from our area are heading to you. Come to the border and wait for them. Don't let them escape. Haig advised, and then he became bewildered, looking at the soundstone. His face became awkward. The soundstone glowed, which meant that Haig had connected with Yu Jia, but Yu Jia didn't answer him. Haig felt like something was wrong here, but he didn't know what had happened. After a while, a calm female voice arose from the soundstone. The man you want to contact is dead. The people he brought here are also dead. Then the soundstone dimmed out. The other had cut off the connection. Haig and Peyton discolored in fright. Chapter 1135. Cross the Border. Chapter 1135. Cross the Border. Underscore. Haig and Peyton halted. The warriors of the Bradley family were bewildered. They also stopped and scattered around the two, looking at them cluelessly. Haig's fingers fiddled with the soundstone. He wanted to talk more, but the sound slow didn't glow anymore. He couldn't form the connection with the other side. Peyton grimaced. He knitted his brows and showed his agitation. Yu Jia came from the Baramus family. He was at peak of ethereal god realm, his competence too domineering. He had brought a retinue of many experts. His team's general competence was stronger than Mia's or Phelps's. However, Yu Jia couldn't lead his dominant team to clear his territory. Quite the contrary, his team was all killed. Peyton found it hard to accept. Hesitating, he looked at Haig and muttered. Yu Jia was from the Baramus family. If they were all killed, it would be hard for us to explain. If we can't finish their enemies, we can't give the Baramus family a proper explanation. Haig squinted. Pondering for a while, he nodded. I'll give them a proper explanation. He hurried to contact Mia and Phelps, asking them to continue chasing after Sure Yan's team. And he carefully asked them to not cross the border to the new territory. They had to wait until he came. Mia and Phelps were confused, but they just agreed without asking for more details. At the end of the swamp was an area where toxic green air hovered as thick as water. The poisonous air gathered in masses, creating natural tents that kept people out. Mo Fo, Cecilia, and Wu Feng stood in front of the area of toxic green air, wincing instinctively. They looked at Sha Zhao. Sha Zhao didn't wait for them to give him a request. He released a lot of demonic insects and poisonous animals. Those tiny creatures buzzed, rattling and flying into the center of the toxic area. After a while, Sha Zhao looked so worried, frowning tightly. The poison of this toxic air is really terrible. It can intrude the sea of consciousness and the soul. It will paralyze the soul altar and affect even the ethereal extent. Behind the layer of toxic air is a barrier leading to another piece of territory. It's a natural barrier that is hard to break. Pausing, Sha Zhao said bitterly, "None of the insects I've released could cross it. Can we break that toxic air curtain?" Wu Feng was agitatedly waving his fan. He walked to the adjacent area with the toxic air, frowning and assessing. He released a flow of soul consciousness to sense. Sizzle, sizzle, sizzle. A faint smoke arose from the green toxic air area. Right after that, Wu Feng paled and shouted, "This F*King toy can affect the soul consciousness too. I said it could intrude the sea of consciousness. Of course, it can affect the soul consciousness. I suggest not using the soul consciousness to sense anything," said Sha Zhao seriously. "Do you have any idea?" asked Cecilia impatiently. "I know how to use the toxins, but I'm not good at dissolving them. I can only treat the toxins of my goo insects. I'm afraid I can't do anything to other poisonous substances." Sha Zhao shook his head. Hearing him, everybody was baffled. Now they all looked at him in disdain. "I'm from the Goo God sect. Our sect cultivates goo insects and we harvest the toxins from them. We don't refine poisons or potions. You must know that. We aren't poison alchemists." Under people's gazes, Sha Zhao winced and said indignantly, "What should we do now?" Mo Fo stood up, his line of sight raking through the Wu brothers, the Jia brothers and Shang Yingyu. "If you have any solution, please do tell. We don't have much time." Everybody was frowning. They were trying to figure out how to solve this problem. However, due to the trivial output they could contribute, no one had stood out to say anything. People then lay their hope on Sha Zhao once again. Cecilia said, "Only you have some knowledge of toxins and poisons here. If you can't do anything, I think we will have a lot of trouble." Everybody agreed, their faces dark. "Not only me, though." Under everyone's gazes, Sha Zhao glanced at Shi Yan and said hesitantly, "We don't have the ability to solve the toxic air here, unless you help us." Everybody was astounded. "He knows how to deal with poisons, too. I remembered the first time I fought with you. I used the secret technique of the Goo God sect to deal with you and attempted to intrude your soul altar. I lost that battle." Sha Zhao took a deep breath and said, "I know you can solve this. If you don't help us, we will be all in trouble." Hearing him, Shang Yingyu also remembered the battle taken place 5 years ago. Her brows twitched, her bright eyes looking at Shi Yan with hope. Sha Zhao and Shang Yingyu's expression had affected the others. They all eyed Shi Yan and found that he didn't pay attention to their discussion. He looked anxious indeed. Everybody exchanged looks. They assumed that he was using his soul consciousness to check the situation. Although they were all impatient, no one dared to bother him. "No one knows what's waiting for us on the other side of the barrier. Do you really want to go here?" Sure, Yan wore a strange face, frowning after he had pulled himself together. Through the barrier, he could vaguely feel the powerful life energy fluctuations over there. However, since they weren't in the same territory, he couldn't sense clearly. He couldn't differentiate whether it was the God clan or warriors from the other star areas. He felt anxious because of the energy he had sensed, which was so strong that it had made his soul shiver in fright. "Do we have any better choice?" Cecilia forced a smile. Everybody shook their heads. "All right, I'm going to open the barrier. You guys have to get through it quickly." Shi Yan nodded, and while the others hadn't reacted yet, he dashed into the area covered in the toxic green air and disappeared. Everybody was startled. Does he know how to solve the toxic air? Cecilia looked at Sha Zhao, her bright eyes surprised. Why does he know a little bit of everything? He can solve the poisonous air curtain that you can't do anything about? What do you think? Seems that he did it successfully, Mo Fo cried, his face filled with inexplicable fright. Cecilia turned her head to watch. They then saw the toxic green masses like the clouds thinning under some strange power. The green clouds thinned, faded, and drifted away from their area. Sha Zhao, Shanging you, and the others gasped in astonishment. They felt like they saw ghosts in daylight. This speed is too fast. Swish! An eye-catching blood-red light appeared like a curtain that was torn by a murderous aura and shooting up into the sky. A fresh air swarmed over and whirled on their faces. It was the sign of the cracked barrier. Get in, quickly, Shi Yin shouted. They didn't dare to linger. They shot over like lightning bolts, swaying through the cut. Their auras disappeared from the swamp shortly. The green toxic air curtain that had disappeared gathered again from other directions. It became thicker and thicker after seconds. After several minutes, the toxic air hovering above the area reappeared. The cut on the barrier closed as if nothing had happened here. For hours later, Mia, Phelps, and Haig gathered in this area. They watched the surroundings with a strange countenance. A strange halo emitted from their eyes. Clearing that vast forest was Yu Jia's task. After Haig had arrived, he said simply, but his words were bombs. Anyway, Yu Jia died. Mia, Phelps, and the members of their families were baffled. They all felt a sudden chill. They had a clear gleam of fear on their eyes when they looked at the barrier. Some god warriors who stood near the barrier couldn't help but take several steps backward, coming to where their leaders gathered. It felt like a monster was hiding deep inside the green toxic air curtain that they couldn't see. It made them restlessly anxious. When I contacted Yu Jia, a woman told me that. She said that Yu Jia and his family's warriors were all dead. Haig was still calm, looking at Mia and Phelps. What do you think? Yu Jia's force was really strong. If his warriors and even himself were killed, it means that the enemy is even stronger. Mia gave an explicit answer. Phelps said with a dark visage, Seems we need to discuss more. We don't know whoever is behind that barrier and how strong they are. We shouldn't act rashly. We should gather all our warriors. We must not make any mistake. Mia pondered and said, I think we should contact Harson the madman. Everybody couldn't help but knit their brows. Although Harson has a little mental problem, his competence and his men are solid, much stronger than Yu Jia's team. If he comes with us, we can be more certain of our triumph. Mia looked at Haig and said earnestly, I know you and Harson don't get along well. Anyway, you've proposed this operation. If it fails, I think you. No need to say that. You contact Harson. I hope he wouldn't die yet. Haig waved his hand, his countenance really bad. Mia nodded and took out her soundstone. There were many islets scattered around a vast ocean, like stars decorating the sea. This was another territory of the ancient continent, which looked dreamily beautiful. From a bird's view, people would find a group of god warriors gathering on a small island not far from Mia and Phelps. Lying disorderly on the rocky island were bodies of warriors from different races, males and females from different star areas. A group of god warriors had bloodstains all over their bodies. They looked manic, as if they were extreme disciples of some wicked cult. They were drinking blood from the bowl they held in their hands. A fire was burning fiercely in between them with a delicate grill where a jade-white female arm was being roasted. Those madmen were drinking fresh blood and roasting the woman's arm to amuse themselves. The young man leading this group was bony. He was swinging his hands while moving delightedly in bizarre dance moves. He looked freaking crazy with blood dripping from his mouth. A lozenge soundstone was glowing in his hand, but he didn't notice as he was busy in a crazy dance. We've just finished cleaning this place. We're throwing a party here. I'm not interested in Haig's stuff. Tell him to mind his own business. I'm not going there. The gaunt young man that looked like a starving ghost threw the soundstone to his side, continuing his party with his retinue, the ones who had the same freaky appearance. He didn't even bat an eye. Chapter 1136, The Four Great Creatures. Chapter 1136, The Four Great Creatures, _ It was an endless forest with big, lush trees. Each of them was hundreds of meters high. The trees looked no different from the mountains. The fresh auras slapped their faces, making Shi Yan's team astounded after they went through the barrier. Gradually, they pulled themselves together to observe the surroundings. Oh! Cecilia couldn't help but scream, her beautiful face anxious and gingerly. Mo Fo, Sha Zhao, and the Wu brothers also changed their visages and frowned. They solemnly looked at the warriors standing in front of them. Under the shade of a towering tree, many warriors from different races were standing, their auras brutal and abundant. They were gazing at the newcomers, their faces strange. Evidently, they weren't members of the God clan. The leader of this group was a woman who looked tall and thin. She had a faint green hair reaching her waist. Outlining her body was a long green dress that touched the ground. Her face was so exquisite with a perfect ratio for her facial features. She had a green crystal imperial crown on her head. She was noble and arrogant. She was looking at the newcomers with her cold, crystal-clear emerald eyes. Standing on her sides were 4 male warriors who apparently were from the same tribe. They wore shining armor, their faces stern and cold, surrounding her. Many warriors from different star areas and races scattered around this woman. They protected her as if she was the moon and they were stars. They had considered her life their top priority to protect. A group of green flames was flickering above her head, releasing the clear soul energy fluctuation. Shi Yan glanced at the woman, his pupils shrinking. He was astonished. Lucky for him, before he had gone through the barrier, he had retrieved his co-soul into his soul altar. Otherwise, they would know his secret immediately when she saw him. Because that woman was like him. They were the sort of special existences that had fused with the origin. On this ancient continent, they weren't bound. The green flame floating above her head was another soul of hers that could sense the different commotions of the ancient continent. Shi Yan was frightened. First, it was Haig, and now it was this woman. This ancient continent was really marvelous, as it had attracted the most outstanding warriors from the universe, gathering in one place. Looking at the unknown woman, thoughts crossed his head rapidly. The more he thought, the more frightened he became. If she was still alive, it spoke up to the fact that the God clan's troop in this territory was cleaned up. This finding astounded Shi Yan. He became more cautious looking at the woman. He was considering his words and how to talk to them. Mo Fo, Cecilia, Wu Feng, Sha Zhao, and the others were also bewildered. They all looked strange. From what they heard from Shi Yan, they knew the woman in green in front of them was like Haig. She was a peculiar existence that the ancient continent didn't shackle. They became excited, their faces bright. "You guys have killed all the God clan's warriors in this territory?" asked Mo Fo excitedly. Including that woman, this group had 26 warriors from different races. Their realms and powers were tremendous. Compared to them, their force had only 12 warriors, including Shi Yan. Apparently, their general competence was behind the others. Moreover, Mo Fo could see that this force of 26 warriors was enough to deal with Haig's, Mia's, or Phelps's troop. As Mo Fo's team was in the dead end, they were forced to get through the barrier to reach this territory. And now, seeing 26 warriors whose situation was almost similar to theirs, he had a joy of finding the exit in the death trap. Unfortunately, what the woman was about to tell them had smashed his excitement. "You guys have 2 options," said the chilly, arrogant woman. From her bearings, it seemed like everybody had to listen to her orders and should bow on her feet. This was some kind of the innate dominant personality she was given. Listening to my order, working for me, or returning to your territory. I've exerted my efforts to clear this place. People who don't obey aren't allowed to stay. Emofo's team knitted their brows. I think you know about the God Clan's clearance operation in the ancient continent. Just like you guys, we're also victims. Haig, Mia, and Phelps have chased after us. Begrudgingly, we had to cross the barrier to this area. We hoped that we could unite and resist the God Clan. Cecilia gave an unnatural smile and explained, if we return, we can't escape from Haig's team one more time. We could be. It has nothing to do with us. The woman intervened her and said faintly, I will repeat one more time. Listen to my order or leave this place. Otherwise, we will kill you all. As soon as she said that, the sharp aura was shot out by the other 25 warriors of her team. They were like needles stabbing Emofo, Cecilia, and the others, making them agitated. Why? Wu Feng's face was dark and gloomy. You aren't qualified to bargain with me. The woman turned impatiently, walking deep into the dense woods and leaving them cold words. I'm giving you 5 minutes to consider. The 4 warriors from her clan followed her, walking into the forest to protect her. The other warriors lay down or leaned against the trees. They looked cold and harsh when looking at the others. Poke, you are Poke, right? Sha Zhao suddenly screamed as he spotted someone. It was a hunky, dark spirit man. He looked a little surprised, gazing at Sha Zhao for seconds before he could react. You are Sha Zhao of the Gugad sect. It's me. Sha Zhao forced a smile and probed. Could you tell me what's going on here? The dark spirit man, he called Poke, looked at the members of his team. Seeing that they were indifferent, he hesitated for a while and then said, Audrey is the princess of the Imperial Dark Tribe. Without her command, we would have all been killed by Yu Jia. We've cleaned all the warriors of the God Clan in this territory. All is thanks to Audrey's extraordinary abilities. Since we are friends, I advise you to listen to Audrey. That way, you can save your life. Poke stopped after he said that and shrugged. Cecilia, Emofo, Wu Feng, and the others listened carefully. When they knew that Audrey was the princess of the Imperial Dark Tribe, they looked genuinely shocked. Sha Zhao changed his visage and contemplated. Next, he turned to Shi Yan and then Cecilia, Emofo, asking silently. Cecilia gestured and they retreated, remaining a distance so that the others couldn't see them with naked eyes. They set up a soundproof barrier before starting their discussion. The woman called Audrey is the princess of the Imperial Dark Tribe. What is that clan? You don't know the Imperial Dark Tribe? Cecilia was surprised. Shi Yan shook his head. The Imperial Dark Tribe is the royal family of the Dark Clan. They are in Dark Star area, a mysterious galaxy in the universe. The God-blessed mainland, one of the 5 ancient continents in Dark Star area, is the ancestral star of the Imperial Dark Tribe. It is the cradle of the Dark Clan. The Imperial Dark Tribe rarely forms a relationship with the other star areas. This tribe is superb. No one can compete with them in understanding the soul altar. I heard that they have a special method to cultivate their soul altar, which is indeed mysterious and unpredictable. Different from the Dark Clan with the lanky physique, the Imperial Dark Tribe has tough bodies. Dark Star area is also the holy land of the Dark Clan in this universe. The Imperial Dark Tribe is also one of the 4 great creatures, explained Cecilia. So the Imperial Dark Tribe is mighty? To what level? Shi Yan was more surprised. Okay, it's like this. At the dawn of this universe, the Imperial Dark Tribe was one of the most combative races in the world. Just like how the God Clan conquered the big star areas, their force was really enormous. However, after a bloody battle where they were defeated, they had lost a large number of clansmen. It has taken them more than dozens of thousands of years. Yet they haven't recovered yet. Thus, they've stayed within Dark Star area until now. They haven't risen any storm ever since, continued Cecilia. You said the Imperial Dark Tribe is one of the 4 great creatures. What are those? Shi Yan didn't have a clue. Honestly, he didn't have much knowledge of the mysteries of the universe. Raging Flame Star Area wasn't a high-level star area. And at the same time, it was closed and conservative, which led to the limited information Shi Yen had of many great events taken place in the vast universe. Cecilia, Mo Fo, Wu Fong, and the others were different. Their star areas often exchanged things with the others. They knew many strange and exotic things in this vast sea of stars that Shi Yen didn't know. Shi Yen really appreciated their information. He's from Agate Star Area. It's my father's homeland. But this star area has closed all the space canals. Thus, they can't contact the outer world. They just live in their small star area. Shang Yu cleared voice arose. She looked at the others and said, "Let me explain the story of the 4 great creatures. I think I may know more information." Everybody knew Shang Yu's father was Shang Qin, the fate traveler who had visited many star areas. Thus, they didn't oppose her idea and nodded in agreement. "Please tell me." Shi Yen looked earnest, focusing on her to listen for more helpful information. "You know we have 5 ancient continents, right?" asked Shang Yu. Shi Yen nodded. "The ancient demon, the ancient god, desolate, Grace mainland, and what's the other?" "It's the god-blessed mainland." Shang Yu's eyes were clear but cold. She continued, "Naturally, the 5 ancient continents were born at the dawn of the universe. Besides Desolate, where we are now, the other 4 ancient continents have given birth to magical and unique creatures. Ancient Demon Continent gave birth to the immortal Demon Clan. Ancient God Continent bore the God Clan. God-blessed Mainland delivered the Imperial Dark Tribe. And Grace Mainland, the ancient continent that had disappeared for years, had the immemorial Monster Clan and also the Heavenly Monster Tribe." Shang Yu paused for a while and then continued, "God Clan, Immortal Demon Clan, the Imperial Dark Tribe, and the Heavenly Monster Tribe are the 4 great creatures that came from the 4 ancient continents." Chapter 1137. Heavenly Monster Tribe and Imperial Dark Tribe. Chapter 1137. Heavenly Monster Tribe and Imperial Dark Tribe. Anusur. "Wait a minute. What's that Heavenly Monster Tribe you've mentioned?" Shi Yen intervened anxiously. Grace Mainland was one of the ancient continents. Shi Yen understood that, but he didn't know the Heavenly Monster Tribe Shang Yu had mentioned that was born on Grace Mainland. He suddenly recalled the words of Heavenly Monster. The vault of Heaven Sea area in the Endless Sea had a mountain range called the Heavenly Monster Mountain Range. Ghost Hunter, Holy Spirit God, Devouring Gold Silkworm, and the King of Demonic Insects had received an inheritance in the Heavenly Monster Mountain Range and found the space passage that led to Agate Star Area. Would it relate to something? He was puzzled. "I heard that the immemorial monster tribe in Grace Mainland is called the Immemorial Creatures. Legends say that the 4 holy beasts, including the vermilion bird, the white tiger, the black torture, and the azure dragon, were great ancestors of the Heavenly Monster Tribe. Cecilia has mentioned the decline of the Imperial Dark Tribe tens of thousands of years ago in a bloody battle that had shut them for years. The tribe that had fought them was the Heavenly Monster Tribe. The consequences of that battle were that the Imperial Dark Tribe hasn't gotten up yet, and the Heavenly Monster Tribe has gone secluding. It seems that their ancestral star, Grace Mainland, had vanished altogether. No one could find it," said Shang Yu. Shi Yen was shaken hard. Grace Mainland used to have 3 different eras, which were the immemorial epoch, the antiquity era, and the ancient time. Legend said that immemorial creatures were born in immemorial epoch. They were the kind of living beings with massive bodies that could connect to earth and heaven energy directly, and their life seal carried the essence of power Upanishad. Because of their existence, Grace Mainland, an ancient continent, couldn't hold it anymore. Its earth and heaven energy was drained fast, which led to an exhaustion of energy. During the immemorial epoch, they had left the Grace Mainland to outer space, moving in different star areas. According to Shang Yu, They were called the Heavenly Monster Tribe, the ancestors of Monster Clan. The current Monster Clan was their descendant after they had scattered in different star areas. They could only call themselves Monster Clan instead of Heavenly Monster Tribe. If the Heavenly Monster Mountain Range was the cradle of the Heavenly Monster Tribe, and if the 4 holy beasts were the precursors of the Heavenly Monster Tribe, after Ghost Hunter got the inheritance from the Heavenly Monster Mountain Range, and Sure got the inheritance from the Black Tortoise, would they become members of the Heavenly Monster Tribe? God Clan, Immortal Demon Clan, Imperial Dark Tribe, and Heavenly Monster Tribe are the 4 great creatures. Throughout billions of years in this vast universe, these 4 races were always the key members of the universe. In some era, the Immortal Demon Clan could rule the whole world. And in the next era, the Imperial Dark Tribe would be the main characters, or perhaps it would be the Heavenly Monster Tribe. Most of the time, they have fought against each other. These 4 races were born gifted. Their existences were the nightmares to the other races. The other clans or tribes would always be their backdrop. When these 4 races were strong, the others could only be their feudal vassals or be killed. They had never had the slightest change to top these 4 races. Shang Yingyu was speaking while Cecilia, Mo Fo, Wu Bai, Wu Feng, Jiao Shan, and Xia Zhao were giving compliments as if they hated that they weren't from these 4 great clans. In our era, the Immortal Demon Clan and the Heavenly Monster Tribe are secluding somewhere. They rarely show up. The Imperial Dark Tribe guards their Dark Star area. They don't want to contact people from the outside. However, no other clan or force dared to provoke them. The God Clan is now the tyrannical overlord of this era. However, no matter how arrogant they are, they don't dare to operate around Dark Star area. Shang Yingyu looked at Shi Yan, her face solemn. If Audrey's the princess of the Imperial Dark Tribe, and she has the origin of the God-blessed continent, she will have the competence to battle Hague. Sure, Yan stayed quiet while the others nodded. No wonder why she's so arrogant. Turns out that she's the princess of Imperial Dark Tribe. No wonder, sighed Mo Fo. The members of the 4 great creatures have never put any other creature in their concern. They only know each other as they consider the others as their rivals. They were born with a sense of superiority. I can understand Audrey, though, added Cecilia. Shi Yan was surprised. After those people knew the princess title of Audrey of the Imperial Dark Tribe, the discontent they had for her was washed away. They thought that Audrey's arrogance was something natural. No one felt offended. It seemed that somehow deep in their minds they had acknowledged the high position of the 4 great creatures. They thought that Audrey should behave like that as it suited her noble echelon. Currently, the Immortal Demon Clan and the Heavenly Monster Tribe have been secluding. We can guess that they are resting to recover, and that's why they don't mind the current picture of the universe. If there's any clan who isn't afraid of the God Clan, it will be the Imperial Dark Tribe alone. Cecilia paused for a while before, continuing all of a sudden, let's talk about the main business. What do you think? Listen to her. If she's the princess of the Imperial Dark Tribe, I don't want to go against her. Mo Fo expressed himself. Yeah, if we stay with her team, we can fight Hague. Wu Feng also nodded. The other people voiced their opinions. After they knew that Audrey was the princess of the Imperial Dark Tribe, they quickly unified. They even looked excited as if they wanted to fight against Hague, Mia, Phelps once under Audrey's command, and Shi Yan. He was surprised for a while, but he didn't know whether to cry or smile. Begrudgingly, Shi Yan nodded and agreed with people's decision. Should he tell them that he was a pure blood of the Immortal Demon Clan? It could work, because it had rooted in their heads that only the members of the Immortal Demon Clan, Heavenly Monster Tribe, and the Imperial Dark Tribe could resist Hague's team. However, Audrey's team was stronger. He couldn't be their leader anyway. Thus, it was the same whether he told them or not. It was better to shade his corona and hide his identity and real competence. He should listen to the others for the time being. Audrey may not know that I have the ability like hers, and that I'm not bound by the ancient continent. Agree with me and say no word about me. So when she has bad intentions towards us and makes us the sacrifice, I can get it and tell you guys. We won't die unknowingly, said Shiryen. He had stressed his good intentions, which was to protect everybody but himself. He knew that Cecilia, Wu Feng, and the others cared about them first. They would consider everything related to their welfare their priority. Indeed, Mo Fo, Cecilia, and Wu Feng didn't need a long time to consider and agree with his suggestion. Sure, Yin didn't need to say more. He knew that the others had made up their minds. They wouldn't disclose his identity. It wasn't that they wanted to give him face. It was because of their safety and their welfare. What else do you know of Grace Mainland? After they had agreed with him, Shiryen calmed down and asked Shang Yingyu, you said that Grace Mainland is one of the ancient continents, and that after the war between the Heavenly Monster Tribe and the Imperial Dark Tribe, it has never shown up until now. No, Shang Yingyu frowned. They rumored that the Heavenly Monster Tribe had moved Grace Mainland away and pushed it to the edge of the universe. No one has rediscovered this ancient continent yet. Just like ancient demon continent, Grace Mainland is the most mysterious. It's possibly because of their defeat that they didn't want the enemy to hunt them down to the last member. The immortal demon clan was defeated by the god clan. Their ancient demon continent also disappeared. No one sees them in the sea of the stars. That's how they could be strong once again in the future. Sure, Yen nodded in his head. He pondered and then figured out that although he had seen the starry sky in Grace Mainland, those stars should be pretty far away from him. And there wasn't any warrior from the other planet who came to tell him whichever star area Grace Mainland belonged. Grace Mainland was an ancient continent and a star. Logically, it should stay close to many other life stars. However, Shiryen had never found any warrior from the other life stars paying a visit. Today, listening to Shang Yingyu, he knew that Grace Mainland was placed at the edge of the universe that didn't belong to any star area or had any neighbors. It existed in a secluded area, to be exact. He bought whatever Shang Yingyu had told him related to Grace Mainland. Finally, he knew that Grace Mainland used to have times of glory. It was one of the 5 ancient continents of the cosmos, and it had given birth to the Heavenly Monster Tribe, one of the 4 great creatures. And as for the Heavenly Monster Tribe that used to be domineering, how many members of them had survived? Where were they? Would they return to Grace Mainland one day? Since Shiryen had the origin of Grace Mainland, did it mean that he had a close relationship with the Heavenly Monster Tribe? Were Ghost Hunter and Zhua sure members of this great race? Could they sense and contact the members of their tribe? If they got stronger, would they have to battle against the Imperial Dark Tribe? All of a sudden, Shiryen had so many questions in his mind, and his heart was a messy ball of cotton threads. For the time being, he had immersed in the mysteries of the 4 great creatures and the ancient continents. Stroking the blood vein ring, he thought that the ring spirit could give him some assistance. Unfortunately, the ring spirit was still dormant. It didn't give him any response for quite a long time. Time's up. Suddenly, Mo Fo hissed and told them to come back and give Princess Audrey of the Imperial Dark Tribe their answer. Yeah, we should get over there. She's the princess of the Imperial Dark Tribe. Only she can lead us to fight against Haig. We may get the triumph at the end. Wu Feng nodded, waving his fane and gently moving forward. Sha, Zhao, Jiao Shan, Cecilia, and the others didn't talk more. They left with happy faces as they had finally found a big rock to lean on. In their minds, Audrey was now indeed much more important than Shiryen. She was their new backbone. Chapter 1138. Join Hands. Chapter 1138. Join Hands. Mo Fo and Wu Feng led them back to the gathering point of the other team. Princess Audrey of the Imperial Dark Tribe stood under the shade of a big tree, her face cold and arrogant and her posture superior. Waiting for Mo and Cecilia to come, she said impatiently, "Are you done thinking?" "We've made up our minds. We are willing to be under your command." Wu Feng gently waved his fan and beamed brightly. He represented the group to give the answer. After he had known that Audrey the princess of the Imperial Dark Tribe, when Wu Feng eyed the woman, he had a gleam of secret admiration in his eyes. He seemed to like Audrey a lot. This man always wore a dark and stern face. However, his countenance was bright and smiling now. Wu Feng's expression made Cecilia and Shang Yingyu disdain him discreetly. The two women had their bright eyes observing Mo Fo, Sha Zhao, Jiao Shan, and the others. Cecilia's and Shang Yingyu's bold brows knitted slightly as they found that most of the men on their team didn't look different from Wu Feng. Their looks attached to Audrey with obvious emotions. Shi Yan was the only exception. When he treated Audrey, he still looked cold and stern as usual. He didn't have any different change on his face. Cecilia and Shi Yan nodded secretly as they appreciated Shi Yan more. They knew that it wasn't just his luck that he could gain the upper hand in dealing with Mia and Phelps. In their eyes, Shi Yan wasn't ordinary. Good. Audrey nodded. Her line of sight raked through them as she said, "Tell me in detail about the force of the God clan in your territory. I want to know their specific competencies to prepare better." She looked at Wu Feng. "There are Haig of the Bradley family, Mia of the Fernandez family, and Phelps of the Ascot family. These three leaders have forces staying in the swamp opposite to us. Haig has just arrived. Previously, we were fighting Mia and Phelps." Wu Feng frankly told her the situation he knew. Then he added, "Haig isn't bound by the ancient continent. His soul consciousness has a strong ability of detecting. Thus, we couldn't hide there. We have to move here. Haig has the origin of the ancient god continent. Of course, he wouldn't be shackled in this continent. I know that." Audrey wasn't surprised, and she said deliberately, "Anything else I need to pay more attention to?" Wu Feng frowned and glanced at Shi Yan unconsciously. He then saw Shi Yan's cold face with a warning gleam in his eyes. His mind flickered before he shook his head. "That's the situation over there. You guys stay here. Do not leave the barrier. Let's see if Haig's team dares to come here." Light danced in Audrey's green pupils. She walked towards Mo Fo's side. The other 4 members of the Imperial Dark Tribe followed her on her sides, so she would be at the center. Audrey stopped in front of the layers of toxic air. Looking at the thick masses of poisonous air hovering and sensing the powerful energy of the barrier between the two territories, she asked, "How did you get here?" Just like the situation of the swamp area, this side behind the barrier also had layers of toxic air. And at the same time, the barrier between the two areas was really tenacious. Ordinary people couldn't just simply break it, especially because of the masses of toxic air. Audrey couldn't help but frown after sensing the toxic air. With her in-depth knowledge of the soul altar, she knew that this kind of toxic gas could erode the soul and make the sea of consciousness change unpredictably. Audrey's cold and arrogant eyes scanned Mo Fo, Wu Feng, Cecilia, and eventually Sha Zhao. She asked curiously, "Did you break it?" Zhao shook his head. "Then who?" Audrey continued asking. She felt surprised indeed. In this group, she found that only Sha Zhao from the Gu God sect perhaps knew how to deal with the toxic gas. She didn't see this special ability in other people. Pausing for a while, Audrey continued speaking. "We used to visit this area when we were chasing after Yu Jia. As they didn't have anywhere to run, they had tried to cross this barrier to enter the swamp territory. He failed in the end. We've tried to get through it and go to the swamp area. However, we found it too troublesome to dissolve the toxic green air. I want to know who opened the barrier. It's very important." Mo Fo, Sha Zhao. Wu Feng looked at Shi Yan at the same time after Audrey had said that. Audrey was surprised. It was the first time she studied Shi Yan, her voice strange. Was it you? Among Mo Fo, Sha Zhao, Cecilia, and the others, Shi Yan at second sky of ethereal god realm wasn't outstanding at all. Moreover, he didn't urge his energy but concealed it. Thus, right from the start, Audrey hadn't concerned him. When Mo Fo and Sha Zhao looked at him, Audrey also eyed Shi Yan for the first time. Her fulgent emerald green eyes focused on Shi Yan, a flow of unknown soul consciousness like a stream of transparent, cool water came out and ran directly into Shi Yan's head, which made him discolor. He suddenly recognized that Audrey was using her strong sensing ability to check his soul and body. She wanted to see every tiny thing he was hiding. It was a special power of the ones who had fused with Origin. Just like Shi Yan, he could see the realm of the enemy at first glance. A thought emerged, and Shi Yan's soul altar changed immediately. Starlight dots glowed and twinkled inside his head, covering his soul altar entirely. When Audrey's soul altar came near, it was blinded in that mysterious and bright light curtain. It was like an intense beam of light struck her eyes. She couldn't see the mysterious features of Shi Yan's soul altar. Reflected in her soul consciousness, Shi Yan's soul altar was a piece of a twinkling galaxy that was indeed mysterious, and she couldn't see through it. She wasn't so persistent. After a slight frown, she retrieved her soul consciousness and said faintly, "If you don't want me to see your secrets, I'm not going to force you. I just want to ask you one question. If I request you to break the barrier, can you do that?" Shi Yan turned his head to see the thick toxic gas masses behind them and nodded. "If it's the area behind us, it's not a big problem. However, I need my full god power to do that." "Excellent," appraised Audrey. "But if you want me to break the barrier and return to the swamp, it's not a good idea." "Sure." Yan didn't look at Audrey, but the layers of green gas. He said in a low-pitched tone, "The combined force of Haig, Mia, and Phelps is one level stronger than us. If we face them directly, we can't gain the upper hand." "I know that," Audrey nodded, her voice cold. "We will wait for them to get through the barrier then. We will install the restrictions here. Let's see if they dare to come." Everyone's eyes brightened. It was true. If Haig's team wanted to pursue them, they had to cross the barrier first. If they could set up a lot of restrictions here, they could damage the others severely. "We can do that," said Cecilia. "Then we should hurry and prepare." Audrey delivered a series of orders. The warriors started to take action under her commands. She divided the barrier into many sections, arranging teams and team leaders. Under her management, people began their works orderly. "You don't need to take action. You just need to maintain your best condition for us." When Shi Yan was about to join them, Audrey shouted coldly, "I don't care how you break the barrier, but I want you to know that when I need you to break it, you must try your best. Or else, I'll let you die a terrible death that will be much worse than if Haig kills you." "Oh, yeah, I don't have much to do then." Sure, Yan didn't mind that. He found a big tree, trunk to sit down, and closed his eyes to rest. On the other side of the barrier. "Harson doesn't want to come." Mia reluctantly put her sound stone away. "It seems like we have to do it ourselves." Phelps squinted, looking at the thick masses of toxic gas with a dark face. After a while, he waved his hand. "I can't break this barrier. Unless you have a safe method to open it. I'm not going to get there in vain." He looked at Haig. All the warriors looked at Haig too. At this moment, they obviously assumed that Haig could always give them away. Harson always acts alone. He doesn't get along well with people. I knew we couldn't count on him. Haig didn't change his visage. He wasn't enraged because Harson didn't want to cooperate. Looking at the thick toxic gas in front of them, he said calmly, "If we can get here from the land of ice, of course we can get into the forest area too. It's not a problem for me to break the barrier." "Then, what is making you hesitate?" Phelps didn't understand. I'm worried if there is a death trap behind the barrier. Frowning, Haig looked stern. I think something is wrong. The woman who killed you, Jia, sounded too placid when I talked to her. She is not afraid of us. They're not afraid of us. Is there someone in the sea of stars not afraid of our clan? Phelps said haughtily. Many warriors of the God clan looked arrogant. They acted as if their clan was the sole powerhouses of this vast universe. They didn't want to put anyone in their eyes. Right, she isn't afraid of us. Mia suddenly cried. With a strange light in her pupils, she said, if she's a member of the other 3 clans, it's true that she won't be wary of us. This trip to the ancient continent is really interesting. I've met one of them. Hearing her, Haig, Phelps, and the other members of the God clan were shocked. Who? These clans? Haig said sternly. It's the man cultivates space power Upanishad. He has the immortal demon blood. He can transform into the immortal demon body. Mia gritted her teeth. He and I used to fight. To be honest, I'm not sure if I could defeat him. Haig, Phelps, and the others changed their visages. Their arrogance faces vanished. They began to consider the matter seriously. The God clan was arrogant and stubborn. They wouldn't be afraid of most of the other races. However, when facing the immortal demon clan, the Imperial Dark Tribe, and the Heavenly Monster Tribe, they would never be so haughty. You're tuning in to the Thunder Spear YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.